Good and fair eve, my friends. Hello, hello, hello. I hope that you are all doing well this beautiful day. It's actually kind of cool today out here in sunshiny California. I saw Matty raid in with some of his folks. Well, yeah, but they are your folks, Matty. Let's go ahead and give you a toot on the raid horn. Here we go. I hope that you are doing well. I hope you enjoyed yourself. What were we doing today? Oh, folks, there you go. I did get the PDF you sent me. I've been quite busy the last couple of days, so I haven't had a chance to go over it yet. But I do, in fact, have it. I do more writing and world building than anything online. I do get the Black Dragon Tavern on Matty. That's usually for the best. There's not a whole lot of content out there worth consuming, and I'm not going to go and be so bold as to say that what the lady and I make is worth consuming. But I do try to make things that are at least generally valuable to anybody who would like to see them. I try not to make things about me when I'm making content, and I do very much endeavor to make stories that people will enjoy. Lady and I both do. We just fed the snake, so both of the cats are sitting over on the table, staring at him because he's got two mice in his tank right now, and they're just transfixed with what is going on. I wore jeans for the first time in 2 years, ripped the entire 2 seconds into wearing them. That checks out, sounds about right. So now I'm having to fix and reinforce them. Uh, for most of my jeans, because my thighs are so big, I end up having to, more or less, I have to reinforce the internal part, because otherwise, if I don't, oh, good lord, hang on a second. I'm having all sorts of trouble with Streamlabs today. It does not want to stay up. Keeps blanking out so I can't see anything. I started a diamond painting kit, didn't realize how tedious they are. After I discovered a smear campaign against me, I just really tempted to just leave social media except for professionally. And again, that's what's best. I rarely use social media for anything personal anymore. I do on occasion post a rant or a ramble somewhere. But for the most part, social media for the lady and I is a means to reach out to the tavern, and that's about it. I got what I didn't even realize that you had said panting. It's funnier now because diamond panting sounds like it would be incredibly difficult. But I read it as painting in my head. My head automatically filled it in. So, also, Kevin, hello, welcome in. So, you guys had asked about Celtic tribes when we were talking about what we were going to waffle about. And I keep forgetting to recommend this book when we talk about Celtic tribes. If you want something that will give you the most amount of information in the most concise way, now you should be skeptical of everything, even if you hear it from me. Shadowlands Radio, hello and welcome in. Grab yourself a seat. We're doing a little bit of waffling before the lady comes on to lull you all to sleep with her lovely voice. If I stab myself with sewing needle one more time, I'm chucking everything in the trash. It's half the fun of sewing is stabbing yourself over and over again. It's like building up resilience. Yes, this is probably one of the best books you can buy in regards to all things Celtic. Now, it is not exhaustive, but what it is an encyclopedia. It's called the Element Encyclopedia of the Celts, and it goes A to Z on all of the different aspects of Celtic culture. And this should tell you how many primary documents we have on Celtic folklore and history. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. This does pretty extensively cover most of them. Obviously, it's not super in-depth academic detail, but this does cover most of them, and it gives context to a lot of it. And this will give you the proper level of skepticism and information around the things that we do know about our Celtic ancestors and so on. This is one of the only books that we've ever had, that we've ever gotten, where I am willing to recommend this to a degree, because this is close to what my family teaches and what we talk about in practice. Kelsey, hello! Good to see you. Welcome in. Got a massive storm going on where I am. Not a dangerous storm, I hope. I would kill for a storm right now. I would love for it to be storming where we are. But sadly, it's very hot. Yeah, Rodney Castleton is a pretty pretty substantial scholar in my opinion. I very much prefer the way that he writes, because one of the things we've talked about quite a bit is when you are dealing with anything that has to do with academia, you have to understand that there's a lot of educated guesswork that goes into it. Academics don't like to say that, because then it feels like it's undermining their authority. But then when they're wrong, it makes it seem like all academics are wrong. So if we're just honest with ourselves and we say most academia has a lot of educated guesswork that goes into it. Academia is about 90% educated guesswork. And it's important to acknowledge that, because then when things get proven wrong or proven different, then we don't have to be as upset that somebody was incorrect, you know? I don't know if you guys could hear that. That was the snake uh, getting getting his dinner. Does it say this is Raga? Hello, how's it going? Welcome in. We had tornadoes last weekend, very exciting. Destiny, how is it storming like bad, or is it like a nice, gentle storm, or is it like rainfall or flooding? What do you guys got going on? I think the only social media I'm keeping is Twitch and Gilded, maybe Facebook, but removing any nerd followings. Yeah, it's hard to be a part of anything these days with how people just cannot be civil online. They just can't. People always have to make it. First of all, people always have to make it about themselves. That's a big problem. But secondly, people just love to bicker and fight about things, and it's ludicrous. I've gotten to a point where if somebody starts anything in the tavern, I give everybody one chance. If you're going to start things and you're going to try and ruin things in the tavern, I'll give you one chance to clarify. I'll give you one chance to backtrack. I'll give you one chance to be like, all right, I'm sorry, I came in hot. I'll behave myself from now on. If you don't take the one chance, I just block people now. Like, the doors to the tavern are open to everybody. The doors to the tavern are open to everyone. You can come in and enjoy a story. If you try to make the tavern a place that brings in all of the drama and spite and anger and bickerances from the outside, this is not a place for that. This place is where people come to enjoy stories. So if you're going to try and bring that in from the outside and bring it in here, and you're going to start trying to ruin the environment for everybody else, then, and I don't even mind if you guys, like, I don't even necessarily mind if you guys want to rant about drama. Like, that's not the problem. It's when people come in and they want to ruin it for everybody else. They want to be cruel. When you come in here, where this is a space for all of the people who are coming in from all over the place to enjoy stories, if you try and ruin it for them, if you try and ruin it for everybody else just because you want to self-gratify, the doors to the tavern will close to you. And if you do it in a malicious way, or in a way to justify your malice, the doors to the tavern will close to you forever. Not because I do not want you here, I do want you here. But because you have chosen to not let the doors open to you ever again. That's what happens. Nice now, a nice storm, but we're getting rain all week and some flash flooding. Ah, well, those are all manageable things. Very well, brother. How are you? So I'm doing spectacular. The lady and I have been getting a lot of wonderful work done, which I'm very happy about.
And I've been
Um,
improving personal.
and Everett has been making a lot of personal improvements, which is good. Everett is our son, for anybody who's new in here and doesn't know that we have a son. Frost, hello, my friend. I'm glad that you made it in. You're all getting rain. We've had clouds here, and I was hoping we would get rain. We got a little bit of sprinkle, but that's pretty much it. And I've been very disappointed by the fact that we haven't gotten more of that. I don't mind if people discuss their. I try to keep politics out of the discussions because people can't be civil. I don't mind discussing politics. I don't mind discussing social issues. The only reason why we don't allow them during tavern time is because most people cannot keep a level head and be mature about it. Because I think that talking about politics and history and things I think those are very important things. But I've been doing this now for 10 years. Every single time politics come up of any kind, like it doesn't matter if you're in the center, it doesn't matter if you're on the left, doesn't matter if you're on the right. Every single time politics have come up in the last 10 years when we're doing a story time, or even when we talk in video, somebody loses their head like a child and cannot keep a level head. So if anybody ever wants to talk to me about their politics, I'm more than happy to talk about it. But outside of that, it's just people cannot keep a level head. Like you could say something simple like, I think we should treat people well. I think we should treat our neighbors well. And somebody would be like, well, what about people who aren't your neighbors? And that is an immature, incapable way of speaking. And so we just don't talk about it. I hope you're blessed by the old gods and the new. Well, thank you, my friend. I hope that you are as well. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope the rains and all of the things are spectacular for you. Yeah, and that's really it. Like again, this is for this. If I was confident that everyone could be mature and be an adult and we could have a constructive conversation about it, fine. And I know most of the regulars would. I know most of the regulars who come in here all the time would be able to stay mature and respect everybody else's points of views and opinions, even if they don't like them. I know most of the regulars would be able to do that. But the fact of the matter is, I know that there are some people who can't. They just can't. There's not enough emotional and intellectual maturity. They cannot keep a level head. So rather than tempting fate with it, I just say we don't do it. Occasionally, sometimes we'll talk about history. Like today, we're talking about the Celtic clans, and it's going to be impossible not to talk about some of the politics that were going on in Ireland at the time when talking about Celtic clans, because it's a part of the history. But in general, yeah, I try to take social issues, politics, and really anything dramatic that is going on out in the world, and it stays at the door. There are plenty of other places online where you can go and talk about those things, and there are plenty of other people who love to stir the pot with it. I will stand on business when it comes to certain things, but for the most part, I'd rather we just talk about stories and history and mythology and whatnot.
You give me this shirt.
I did. It doesn't fit me.
I put it back in your room because I thought it was you.
No, it's too small for me, so it's yours now. You run the Arendelle Ice Company now. Yeah, and again, I don't mean this to be a thing where I say like you shouldn't talk about these things. You should talk about these things, and they are important, and you should be able to have these conversations with friends and neighbors because it's very important we talk about these things. But the tavern itself is not a place where we talk about those things, because it's just not the place for it. And again, people cannot stay civil, and if people aren't going to stay civil, then they get booted out. The rules say if you cannot stay civil or you try to ruin it for everybody else, you will be systematically dismembered and fed to the dragons. Talk about it when it's the right space, but it's not exactly. The tavern is where everyone comes to relax, and escape and talk about fantasy and talk about history and talk about mythology. And again, it's impossible to talk about history without bringing up some manner of politics, right? Like we can't talk about the troubles in Ireland or the terror in France without talking about the politics of the time. So those things people are a little bit more disconnected from and they don't know as much about. So it's a little bit easier to be uh, it's a little bit easier for people to be level-headed about a political topic that they're not connected to. So like, dozens and dozens or hundreds of years old. But anything that is going on currently, whether again, if it's social, if it's political or anything like that, it stays at the door. And it's not that I don't think that those topics are important because they are. But in here we talk about stories and mythology and fiction and writing and the art of storytelling. I feel calm being here. Good. Now, so is your name is coming up with symbols on my screen, and I'm not sure if it's a problem with me or if it's a problem or if that's just how it's written. But is it Raga or is it meant to be Ragnarok? What is the how do I say your name over on TikTok? So, like, we're mostly agreeing to keep hot politics out of... Yes, 100%, Belinda. 100%. Esther, hello. Good evening, Castle. I hope you're doing well. I've not been present the last two readings due to severe migraines. I'm currently resting. Well, make sure that you rest. That is very important. Let's talk about literature, mythology, and fantasy and similar topics. Exactly. Skull Gamer, good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening. The tavern is my second home, always will be. Raga. You spelled excellent. So am I supposed to say Ragga or do I say Raga? I'm Irish and Danish. Oh, very good. My family are I say my family, but we're Norse and Irish. So I come from Southern Ireland originally, and my family are from Norway and Southern Ireland. Start the butterbeer order. Yes, indeed. Good, Esther. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water and resting. I'll try not to be too boisterous. We're just talking about Irish clans tonight, so very well could be. We very well could be. My family are the O'Briens. Not the Brian Boru Bryans, but the O'Briens. So I think that Brian Boru was a descendant, but I'm not 100% sure. So my writing streams are more popular than my gaming streams, and so as well because people like to talk about things, Matty. People love to have conversation. Mine are the Scots that came from Scotland. There are so many migrations that go back and forth between Ireland and Scotland. It's actually insane. It's one of the reasons why I love to tease the Scots, because there've been so many cross migrations between Ireland and Scotland that there's not a huge difference, genealogically speaking, between the Irish and the Scots. But there is a fair difference in culture between the Irish and the Scots. Every time you say you're going to be less boisterous, you get super excited about stuff. Look, I'm gonna do... Thank you, Frost. I appreciate you, brother. Twitch is on a delay, so I moved over to TikTok. Excellent, Belinda. I've had so many ask about my story, and I've learned to censor myself for spoilers on stream. It's so easy to start getting excited and tell people everything about the story because you're excited about it. It's something that you've worked really hard to build and you love it. So you want to tell people about it, but you also don't want to ruin the story for anybody who's trying to learn more with it. Destiny, I'm the same way. I don't mind getting spoilers for a story if it's a good story. Because if a story is really good, if a story is excellent, and it doesn't rely on there being a twist for it to be good, I'll enjoy it anyways. Because it's the full construction of the story that I enjoy. If a story needs to have some twist in order for there to be amusement in it, I'm not going to enjoy it anyways. So there's that. My mom's side is Danish, and that name is Uberson. Uberson. Excuse me. Aaron and Milu kept telling me to turn off for spoilers. Finally, if I could read it, I wouldn't have complained so much. Redguard, hello, new guy here. I'm curious. To you, what makes a story earn the property of being excellent? That's a very good question. And the simple answer is if the story is believable. Yeah, I will spoil TV shows and stuff for myself because I don't like twists. Yeah, and it's not even that I don't mind a twist. It's just I don't need a twist for it to be interesting. I would prefer that the whole construction be good. A good story requires... Now, keep in mind, an excellent story will have all three of the ingredients that is required for an excellent story. It will have strong character writing, it will have strong plot writing, and it will have strong world building. Wonder, how is intelligence trained? You take it to the gym and you have your brain do chest curls. Is my understanding of how intelligence is trained. Do the Fae of Ireland and Elf in Scotland have last names? No, because last names in Ireland didn't come about until 500. Hang on, I literally have my document up here. So so the earliest Irish names go back to the 4th and 5th century, and before that there were not a lot of names. There were not like family names in Ireland. Eek, thank you for the follow over on TikTok. Welcome to the tavern. Yeah, you have to do chest curls, but with your brain. That's how you build out intelligence. You're welcome, Redgar. But yeah, an excellent story has good character writing, it has good plot writing, and it has good world building. Hang on, I'm going to snooze the ads here for a second, and we'll let those run here in a minute. When those things come together, you will have believable characters, you will have a believable world, and you will have a easy to follow, but not, or I should say easy to understand plot. Those things are what is required for a story to be excellent. Now, you can have a good story that just has one of those things. You can have good stories that just have good character writing, which is what we get from, let's use a prominent example, Harry Potter. Harry Potter has really good character writing. With the exception of Harry Potter, Harry Potter's character is not very well written, but Harry Potter has very good character writing and it has very good world building. The plot writing is dreadful, but the character writing and the world building are wonderful, especially in the later books, where she has to do a lot of information dumps in order for us to be able to understand the world, because she didn't do enough of that in the earlier books. But you can have stories like another one that's very popular is Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones has really good character writing for its heroes. Its villains are terribly written, but really good character writing for its heroes, and really good world building. But the villains are written like garbage for the most part, with the exception of Tywin Lannister, who is one of the best written villains in all of modern fiction. And it has excellent world building. The world building is very interesting, is very, very straightforward. I'm just starting to dig into my family ancestry after finding some copies of docs that my mom had. That's wonderful. Absolutely exceptional. When you say plot writing is terrible, do you mean in book 1 or the entire series for Harry Potter? The entire series. Like, the entire series for Harry Potter relies on a lot of very convenient accidents to happen. um, in order for them to exist. Okay, I'm going to pause the conversation for a second. I know Redgar and Skullgamer or Skello Gamer, I think you guys don't have subscriptions over on Twitch. I'm going to run ads real quick so that they'll give us an hour without them. It's going to be 3 minutes. I'll pause the conversation and we'll come back as soon as the ads have run, okay? I apologize, Twitch makes us do it. If I could turn them off, I would. But I do the 3 minutes so we have an hour without any ads uninterrupted. So give me just a minute and we'll be right back. Anybody who is subscribed or anybody who is over on any of the other portals, you'll still be able to hear me and you'll still be able to follow along. And we'll waffle for a bit while we wait for the ads to run so we can get on to the thing. And yeah, with Game of Thrones specifically, they did rush the ending, Raga. It was a they had to come to an end because the series was over. Like it was at the end, and they just sort of wrapped things up in a very quick way that it didn't serve the story very well. Didn't give proper respect to the story. Also, Matty, I saw that you said you changed Breed's last name in your story. I forgot to acknowledge it, but I saw you said that. Yeah, and what a privilege, Loopy, to be able to explore family history. I was very fortunate I grew up with my grandfather, who has very detailed family records of our whole clan. And I was very, very excited to be able to share that when I started doing those stories. But I was also shocked at how many people want that connection with their ancestry, with their roots, and they can't get it. They rushed the ending so the writers could go and work on them. That's interesting. See, The Mandalorian was another one where the character writing for The Mandalorian is very good. The world building is not very good. And the plot is not very good. But the character writing is excellent. The character writing is very good. And so you really love the characters that you meet in The Mandalorian. But it relies very heavily on, we're writing in Star Wars. So obviously everybody already knows Star Wars, so we don't have to explain anything. And that's a very flawed way to write. Like, obviously Star Wars is very popular, it's very famous. But if you don't provide context for new viewers, it's bad writing. It doesn't have to be overt, like you don't have to beat people over the head with it. But if you are going to write a story that is in an existing world, you need to have some form of context given. Bear, how you doing, brother? Welcome in. Christine, hello, welcome. I had to, mostly because it got simpler than saying breed, clan of insert name and insert name. That's probably for the best. I did one of those 23andMe things, and it came back as 76% Irish and British, but I'm not believing that too much. It's not uncommon. Now, you also have to understand that when they say Irish and British, that's a pretty broad swath that they're covering with. Like that covers a pretty broad area. It looks like the ads are done over on Twitch. So welcome back, everybody who was stuck behind the ads hill. It's doubtful Martin will ever finish the last 2 planned books of the Game of Thrones. Probably not. He's wealthy and he's old, so I don't see any reason why he would write the books the way that he did. I switched over to Twitch, my TikTok name. Oh, well, welcome in, Loopy. I'm glad that you joined us. Do you prefer Loopy or would you prefer to be called Mike? Whichever one you prefer, I will go to. He has lost a lot of enthusiasm for the story, and I think that part of that is because of the sort of build-up that was created by the show. He's not going to make anybody happy. No one is going to be happy with how he ends the book. So he's kind of a lose-lose. He's either gonna have people upset that he didn't finish the series, or He's gonna have people upset that he didn't end the series either to par or to refute what happens in the show. So it's just I prefer Mike, date Mike, alright. Whichever one you like. I use Twitch more than I do well then welcome in, Mike. I don't know if you've ever joined us before this, but my name is Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. Every now and again I read you all a bedtime story. Today we're waffling before my wife gets on to read you all a bedtime story. We're talking about Celtic clans. But on Tuesday and Thursday I do character performance readings. On Tuesday, we are in Silverthorn by Raymond E. Feist. And on Tuesday, we're in Silverthorn. Not Silverthorn, I'm sorry, at Darkness and Sethanon. We just finished Silverthorn. And then on Thursdays, we're doing Harry Potter and the Deathly Hollows. We just started. We're 2 chapters into that. Exactly, it does list London and County Mayo as having the strongest matches, but with 0 records. I'm not believing it, and will likely take it as it is. I could probably, now that I have that info, I could probably look in the records that I have, Destiny, and see if you have any direct name lineage. Because name lineage and blood lineage, you can kind of correlate. It's difficult to do, but you can. You can find a trace back of your name, and see if you have any family from that particular area. Excellent, Mike. I'm glad. But yes, my wife and I are classically trained storytellers, and we talk about all things storytelling. We are in an attempt to revitalize the dying art of classical storytelling in the world. So we were talking about Celtic clans. I got off on a major waffle there for a while, but that's why it's called Waffles with Castle, right? We're just waffling. So, how many of you are... Let's see. I have the personal fantasy that at some point in my life, write a story where the main character isn't a kid or a robot or someone who is new or recent into her life adventure. I want to make a story where the main character isn't a grown man or woman, but I know it would be difficult because having a grown woman or man having struggles may not be believable, or it may. But I may not find a way for people to feel related to the character. Myth, lore, and tales of yore. Indeed, Bear, indeed. Also, brother, it's good to see you. I hope you're feeling alright. No, don't worry about it, Redguard. That's what we're here for. We're here to talk and ask questions and so on. You know what, Destiny? Actually, while we're here, let me see if I can find. Give me just a second. I'm gonna bring up my names document here, and I'm gonna see if I can find a connection between your name and County Mayo. How do you spell your Matthew? Thank you for the follow over on TikTok. Welcome to the tavern, my friend. Yeah, okay, that's good. Well, because there are a lot of folks who have there are a lot of folks who have like Polish and German and Cornish and English names that get traced back to Ireland and Scotland. Dark Nexus, hello, my friend. Also, Raga, I didn't see that heartbeat come in, but thank you kindly for that. I appreciate you. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Thank you very much. Have an awesome day and be safe out there. I do my best. I do my best. Took me forever, but I finally found the line beyond my grandfather and my home in Canada, between Canada and Ireland, New British Columbia. Is NB New British Columbia? or you'll have to forgive me. I'm terrible with. I can't even remember the word. My brain's not working. So, what do you recommend doing when there are variations of last names? How do you dig further into the records? It's very hard. It's very difficult, Mike. Again, I am fortunate that I have access to a lot of my grandfather's records. My grandfather's family are classical storytellers from Ireland, very old clan from Ireland, and there we have oral records of things that our family has recorded over years and years and years, and so I can go to those for context of like in our stories. But if you want general context in academia, it's very hard, especially if you're from Ireland, because in 1908 or sometime in the mid 1900s, there was a fire at the records in New Brunswick. Thank you, Milo. I appreciate you, New Brunswick. New Brunswick to BC is British Columbia. That's right. I'm a Canadian First Nations from Alberta. Well, welcome in, Lorraine. Good to see you. I actually have a story coming out about Northern Canadian natives. Well, Northern Canadian, Canada, Iceland, all that. But the birth, death, and marriage records of most of Ireland disappeared in a records fire in Northern Ireland back in. So the furthest most records go back is to like 1908. And the very furthest that some of them go back is like 1850. So you kind of have to rely on familial records and oral traditions when tracing anything in Ireland, Scotland, or Cornwall, because most of those records just don't exist. They don't exist. They just disappeared. They were destroyed, more or less. I have several records from County Donegal, specifically the last name McHill, McCall, or McCall. It's harder to go back further than the mid 1700s at the moment. Right. Very difficult. Abawath Tech means good day, basically. Oh, well, excellent. Good day to you as well. Would you say overall my story is believable? Apologies for the repeat. My brain is going. I need to know. I didn't even see you say that, Matty. But, hey, Wesley, how's it going, my son? Just for a bit, we're waffling while the lady gets ready to tell you all the story. I would say for the most part, yes, Matty. Hey, Tim, how's it going? I saw your message. I've been so swamped the last couple of days. The lady and I have been running like our heads are cut off. We had a baby shower yesterday, which was lovely. One of my oldest friends is having a baby girl, and that was very exciting. And we went and spent time with their family, and then the day before that we were finishing up work, and the day before that we had a memorial. So the last few days we've just been going non-stop. I mean, all right, but right now NB is for New Brunswick. My elders on my father's side are all gone, so I had to do it the old way. And that's how most folk in North America are. Come across your videos on Facebook, and they have been quite enjoyable. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying them. The lady and I are, as I said, we're classically trained storytellers, and we come from a long line of cultural storytelling from Ireland. My family is from Ireland, and we spend a lot of our time now working to keep alive the art of storytelling and the lessons that we learn from our ancestors that are handed down through those stories. And this is a tavern, a magical tavern at the end of the world, where all those stories eventually come to rest. And you all find your way in here because you desire a story. That's when the doors open, when the portals open, and you find your way to us. Okay, hang on. Mike, give me just a minute, friend. I'm gonna look through this for Destiny's last name real quick. He might.
How do you feel?
He's a regular old predator over there.
You want to practice for you and show you what you're gonna
My stream's about to get my ugly mug suit. Oh, you're handsome as all get out. We're in Ireland, brother. My dad is from Ballymena. I grew up in County Wicklow. And I don't give any more specifics than that because we've had people go and try and like track down and harass my family. So I don't give any more specifics than that. But I grew up primarily in County Wicklow. Bounced all over though. Valkyrie love, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. Mike, hello, 3 months in a row subscribing. Interesting. Well, thank you kindly. Cheers. Tips to the Tavern Keeper always appreciated, my friend. You know, it's because you're gorgeous. Absolutely stunning you are, is what you mean to say, Matty. Yeah, people like to be weird, so we sort of... Yeah, don't say what you don't need to. Beautiful down there. It is. I spent a lot of time playing around, when I was very young, around Castle Blackrock and in the like the forest areas of Down and Kerry, because I have family from all over. I have to go, but I've followed you. Hopefully, I can watch you soon. Have a nice day. Redguard, it's absolutely a pleasure to have you, my friend. We do story time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The lady and I do this on Sundays, where I kind of waffle for a bit before she gets on, and then she tells a story as well. And then we try to put out a new story on history, storytelling, fiction or mythology, just about every day or every other day throughout the week, unless we have something that stops us. But otherwise, it's what we do for the most part. So we look forward to seeing you around and perhaps having you as a regular here in the tavern. It's absolutely lovely for you to drop in. I hope you enjoyed your time, and we look forward to seeing you back again. Sorry I missed call today. Night shift has me in a tight grip, but I don't get up till 4:30. It's all right, love. It's all right. If you want to catch up on anything, just message the lady and I, and we'll work you through it. So give me. So we were going to talk. What we were going to talk about was the clans of Ireland. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with the actual clans themselves, but the Irish clans date all the way back to right around 2500 BC. 2500 to 3000 BC, we start having the first what are called mythological lineages. That's true, Bear. It's very difficult to be so incredibly lovely all the time. It is what it is. Wait a sec. Yeah, we went on a bit of a flurry there, didn't we? So the first clans of Ireland are mythological. What? Good God. Oh my, TikTok irritates the ever-living hell out of me. I just got a notification from TikTok that says, oh, you can't do this because you're directing people off platform. No, I bloody well am not. I'm not directing people anywhere. We're talking right here, you daft bastards. I get in trouble for things I don't even do on TikTok anymore. I'm gonna go back to the time when I was just telling absolutely unhinged jokes on TikTok. That way, at least I'll get in trouble for things that I did do. So I don't use TikTok. Look. Look, alright. TikTok is where the tavern started, and we have a huge group of people who still enjoy us over there. So I won't stop using it. But TikTok is just a royal pain in my. Oh, trying not to swear because then TikTok will get mad at me there too. So upset. He said ever acted like he was. Yeah, I did. He was acting like he was on. He was just being a nut. And I said he was acting like he was on that. And then TikTok was like, "Well, you're promoting drug usage." I'm like, "I am not." Now I feel like I need to because I already got in trouble for it, but I'm not gonna. But I already got in trouble for it. All right. So the first groups that go into Ireland. So the first group in Ireland in the mythological era is called the Fomorians, right? I don't know. Again, I don't know how familiar everybody is uh, with Irish mythology and Celtic mythology and the roots therein. So I'm not going to go too far in detail. If anybody has any questions, I can do videos about it to give it a little bit more context and so on. But the inhabitants of Ireland are chronicled in a book called The Book of Invasions. Remembered my password. Did Prime discontinue the free month once? No, it should still be on. Okay, means they did change the menu, but you should still be able to do it. But you have to. The menu is weird now. It's quiet and I can get more done, but I am the opposite of a morning person. Yeah, that's understandable. The only crack I have is about crack, though. Sorry, bad joke. It's a dad joke, that is. You might have a kid coming somewhere, Matty. Look out. But the first group of invaders into Ireland are called the Portholonians. And the Portholonians are a sort of like a semi-mystical group. But what's really interesting is that genealogically, and this is fascinating, genealogically, the people who came, the Partholonians who came in. Vixen, hello, good to see you, welcome in. Are supposedly, were supposedly led by the daughter of Noah from the Bible, from biblically speaking. And they gave rise to the Ui Fergusa, so the Ferguson clan. So again, absolutely fascinating, that one. And then you have the Nemedians, who were the sons of they were the sons of Nemed, sons like Betok and Labanol. And again, these guys were sort of just an interim group. Then they built a lot of the forts in Ireland, so a lot of the like underground tunnels and a lot of the megalithic things that are in Ireland, which again, some of these things date back more than 10,000 years, were considered, a lot of those were considered to have been built by the Nemedians, who were then defeated by the Fomorians. Hunter-gatherer DNA, if you like night shifts. Right. It's all right, Matty. It's all right, and it does sound very Greek, and it probably does have a Greek. It probably is a Greek preface. So you're not wrong in thinking or feeling that way. Then we have the Fomorians. Now the Fomorians are made up. It's kind of a vague group, right? Because the Fomorians are sort of like the Jotnar from Norse mythology. They're not giants, but they're called chaotic giants in the same way that a lot of the Jotnar in Norse mythology are called like ice giants, right? Now, it's not to say necessarily that they are giants, but they're often called giants. And it's usually because they represent something primordial and chaotic. So you don't be too caught up when you read something that says that these figures were giants. Generally, if something is a giant, they will be described as having a massive stature. But if they are described as just being a giant in literature, doesn't always mean that they are of great stature. It's odd, I know, but uh, it is what it is. You have with the Fomorians come in two stages, is what I was getting at. You have the primordial Fomorians, who are the ones that were there before the Partholonians, and these were the ones that were considered to be fully mythological. But then you have the Fomorians that were led by Baelor, and Baelor is where we start getting into the mythological, but also semi-mythological lineages of Ireland, because we have lineages in Ireland that trace all the way back to directly to Baelor. So you have like the Ui Farach, I believe, is the hang on. I'm trying to remember this all off the top of my head, and it's not, my brain's not braining at the moment. The O'Flaherty's. The O'Flaherty's and the McHughes. Then we get the final invaders into Ireland, which are the ones that are widely... How tall am I? Canonically, Raga, I am 4'3". Hillary, hello, good to see you, welcome in. The lady will be on presently to read to you all. She is making herself proper for everyone. Yeah, canonically, I am 4'3". You dropped me down. Did I lose height? Well, I am getting old. So I might be shrinking. It's entirely possible I've lost inches. That is entirely possible. Sure. Ladies over there saying inappropriate things in the bathroom. Spinal, it'll get you every time. That's why you have to make sure you stretch and you hang upside down. How are you tonight? I am wonderful, Hillary. We're talking about Celtic clans before the lady gets on to read to all of you. Which, by the way, again, I recommend. This isn't my book. I don't get paid anything if you guys pick these books up. But if you care about like Celtic history and stories and so on, you cannot find a better book, in my opinion. This is the only book that gives the proper skepticism and context to the academic aspects. It is the Elements Encyclopedia of the Celts, and it is written by Rodney Castledin. Castledin is a wonderful scholar. At least all of the things I've read by him are, and I strongly recommend this book. Canonically, yes, canonically. I did shrinkage due to heat, water evaporation, yeah, all of those factors, scientifically speaking, you know, it all makes sense. Yeah, it's not really all that expensive anymore. This is a much older book. I think that I got it for $20, but I think you can probably pick copies of it up pretty much anywhere for $15 or less now. It is well worth a look. I say table, but it was more like a cot or a hinge. Oh man, my grandfather used to have one of those inversion tables, best spinal decompression ever. Yeah, well, which is really all inversion tables are. They're a cot on a hinge. You definitely have to be careful. I got mine on for 8 on Worlds of Books a year or so ago. Yeah, see, you could. The book is called The Element. I'll post it. I'll post it elsewhere so you guys can find it, but I'll post it in the guild again because it's been a while since we talked about this book. But it's The Element Encyclopedia of the Celts by Rodney Castledin. is the book. And it's not exhaustive, but one, it shows you there are not a lot of documents that make up what we consider to be Celtic mythology. It is very, very, very few historical documents. So you have to be very, very critical with the way, even when you're talking to somebody like me, like my claim is that I have a very old family who has very old stories that we've handed down for ages and ages and ages and ages, and that we have a very rich oral tradition. My grandfather keeps a lot of records. Even in instances like that, where somebody like me who you trust, you should still treat it with skepticism, because even though we have a lot of stories, and yes, they are very old, it's still just our family's perspective. Even if we do have extensive records, it's our family's perspective in how we recorded them. So that's not going to give you the whole story necessarily. It's just like academia takes a lot of educated guesswork. So whenever you look these things up, whenever you're looking into these things, have a healthy amount of skepticism. 50% of what you find in any book is probably accurate, or at least accurate in the right direction. And the other half of things is probably made up. It's probably speculated. Kemian, thank you for the subscription. Enjoy your Greek man's drought there, my friend. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love this. I found my peoples. Like, I'm very glad. We actually just recently started doing this again. We normally just do story time. The lady and I read books to you guys, but the videos that the lady and I put out through the tavern, it's always this. Mike helped. Good. I'm glad. Wait, did Mike do a gift sub? Mike gifted us. Oh, Mike, thank you for the gifting. Came in as a sub. I appreciate you. Thank you for that. Very generous. Tips to the tavern giver always appreciated. Sorry, I needed to get in one message. That's all right. Thank you, Destiny. I appreciate you for putting that in. But yeah, this is an excellent book. It's very detailed. Again, not exhaustive, but it is very detailed, and he does a very good job of providing like cultural and time context to these things. Because a lot of people, what they do is they'll write a book like this, and they love to be like, oh, well, this modern thing in this context. And you cannot do that. You cannot take modern context and sensibilities and moralities and then look at the thing through that lens. You have to understand the context of the time and look at it through that lens. Because and you're not going to be able to do that perfectly. No one's going to be able to do that perfectly, which is why you have to remain skeptical and understand that you will never understand everything 100%. You have to do that when you're looking at religion. You have to do that when you're looking at history. You have to do that when you're looking at anything. Even things, even documents, because we talked about this the other day. One of the most historically rigorous and academically verifiable books on the planet is the Bible. But even when you're looking at the Bible, you have to read the context. Because even though it is one of the most studied and most rigorously analyzed and critiqued books in existence, there's still important context to the stories. So when you're reading any historical book, you have to be willing to read it with skepticism, and you have to be willing to look at it critically from the point of understanding the context of the story in the time. Because you'll have all kinds of things where you'll have scholars for Celts. They'll say, "Oh, there was all of these cults that worshipped Cernunnos. What is the evidence for that?" Well, there isn't really any evidence. They just know that there's a cauldron and a torque and a monolith that have a similar figure that looks like Cernunnos on it. And then they use that to presume that there were these cults that worshipped based on what they know about religion, and then they impose that upon the time. It's not something that can be ever fully verified unless we found significantly more context and information, but you can still take that information and say, oh, so this is what we know. But you also have to remember that there's a lot of these things that end up with a lot of speculation around them. I know I went off on a wild ramble there. I know. Okay, so Destiny, there are no direct immigration links that I can find between Germany with the name Westerich and County Mayo, but there were a lot of O'Malley's that immigrated into Western Europe in like the 1600s. So there's a very good chance that you might have some ancestry amongst the O'Malleys or the O'Briens, which means you would be related to me, because my clan is the O'Briens. So, oh, would you to point out where the characters need feedback on? Oh yeah, just send me a message with exactly what you want feedback on, Matty. I just started Adamon's Life of Columba. I recognize that name. Hang on. I'm gonna cheat because I have technology at my hand. Give me a second. Oh yes, yes, yes. That's a good read. That one. I haven't read. I haven't read all of it. I read parts of it when I was in university. When we were reading through antiquities, trying to learn all the history I can about Donegal. Mike, send me a message. I will send you what I have on the history of Donegal and its clans. Yeah, I'll do a little bit deeper digging too. The document that I have here is just a names bridge, Destiny. So there's nothing in there that is specific. But what I'll look at is I will look at any Irish immigration that went into Germany specifically, and see if there are very likely, Matty, very likely. Uh, but I can do a little bit of a deeper dig on what potential, because nothing's gonna be rock solid, but I can give you a basic map of who your family might be, Destiny. Yeah, send it to me. I have all of these documents up because I'm doing videos on this stuff right now, so now would be the time to send anybody who has questions. If you're, especially if you're in the guild, it'll be easier for me to get back to you if you're over in the guild. Anybody who has questions about ancestry, I'm doing a couple of ancestry videos right now, so I have all of my documents and books out for lineages. So if any of you have questions on these things, send them to me. So before, because the lady's getting ready to get on, but the last tribe that raided into the last tribe that invaded Ireland was the Tuatha De Danann. Now this is the one. Anybody who is gilded, the gilded is like a Discord server, but it's on the platform Gilded. You can message Captain Hoodie, who is our lead barmaid, and she can help you get in. Or if you want to, you can message me, and I will help you get in. But it's like Discord, but with a little bit more function. Though it does have some stupid things about it that we don't like. Huh? Yeah. We prefer it over Discord because it has more functionality, but it's got some dumb things. Erin, good night. I'm so glad you joined us. I hope your Jumbo Wombo is all well rested and doing the things that it needs to do. You need to slow down a little bit, girl. You need to slow down. Erin is hungover again.
She's young and having fun, but you gotta be careful.
Yeah, well, you don't put so many miles on the tires just before you're.
Your brain doesn't stop developing till you're what, 27?
So did I tell you about that study?
Probably.
So they were doing that study about your brain stopping developing at 27. They were monitoring a group of 1,000 people, and so for boys, it's 26, and for girls it's 27. That's what the study concluded.
Interesting.
But what the what actually happened is they did this study on people. They started examining them at puberty at 14, and they kept on examining them all the way up into their late 20s. And the clinic sort of like ran out of patience and money for the study because they kept like every test the brain was growing and changing. So at 26 for the boy group, at 27 for the girl group, they just stopped studying and came to ended the study saying the brain continues growing up until 26 and 27 in males and females. So it could possibly grow beyond that.
They should have worded it that way. They should have said
Right, because it's one of the biggest like now like cultural things that we talk about. And it's based on a poorly worded conclusion in a study.
Very scientific.
Yeah, not very scientific. Erin has a Wombo blurb now channel. That's because every time Erin drops in, she starts screaming Jumbo Wombo. And so now she has a Wombo blurb, which is like a sound effect on Milo's channel.
Isn't that like a music or something?
I have no idea. You would know better than I.
I think it's Jumbo Wumbo.
It's possible. I don't know. You know these things better than I do. All right, kids. This is where we're gonna end Waffles for today. I say Matty says Jumbo Wumbo. I just say Wumbo. I apologize. Erin just says Wumbo. I have a Wumbo routine for it. You guys are something else. It's from SpongeBob. Never would have guessed that. This is where the Waffles are gonna end. Now, would you guys like for me to end this and then start a new stream for the lady?
Remember people weren't notified?
Yeah, a lot of you guys weren't notified the last time, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end with me, and you guys can hang out for a bit. And the lady is gonna pop back up because last time the lady got on, and a lot of people weren't notified that she was on. So we're gonna end here for a minute, and then I'm gonna bring it right back up for the lady. Can we raid ourselves? I don't think so, can we? Lorraine, I am honored to have met you. It was an honor to meet you as well. If you are interested in hearing the lady read, she is a wonderful and very calming voice, and she also sings some very beautiful songs for you all. I can start a stream and right back. You don't need to do that, Milo. It's fine. Well, I'm gonna pop back on here in just a minute, and you guys will be all ready to go. It was lovely meeting you, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Raga, absolutely wonderful to meet you as well. We do the waffles every Sunday now, so you'll be able to. I mean, yeah, the lady's gonna be on right after me. You know what? Hang on. Let me see. I mean, you've got pretty much everyone's in here. Maybe just leave it up. Yeah. All right, guys. We're gonna take it. We're not gonna end. I'm gonna leave everything up. And the lady is going to. I'm gonna put it on a BRB for a second, and then the lady's gonna sit down, and I'm gonna change the information on things, and then we'll be right back. Okay. So give me just a second, and we'll be right back with you all. more back. You can slide this into the middle. There we go.
There we go. Hello, everybody.
For those of you who are new, this is the Lady of the Tavern. She is to be protected at all costs, and no improprieties are allowed whilst she is manning the bar.
Only, in moderation,
Moderation in all things.
Yeah. I'm not saying don't have fun, but don't be rude, There's a difference. How is everyone doing? Offenders will be dealt with, exactly. We've got plenty of barkeeps that will drop down the sword.
It keeps doing this. I don't know what the problem is.
What's wrong?
It keeps blacking everything out, so you won't be able to see your notifications.
Ah, I see.
If it does, just grab the top bar, pull it down, and then pull it back up to the top.
With fire, yeah. That's true. We do have the Scorch Queen in here, so. But Lorraine, welcome in.
Destiny says, hello, how are you? I love your hair.
Oh, thank you. It's very hot still. I'm like sweating, which is weird because I'm not a sweater. But I'm just so hot. I don't feel like I'm cooking from the inside, so I wanted to do something that would not have my hair also making me more hot, so. Y'all know how I like keeping my long hair. Yeah, welcome in. It's glad to have you. We are reading Child of the Prophecy. It is the third book of the Seven Waters series by Juliette Marie. The first three books are actually a trilogy in their own right, but she did write several more books about the family, and each book covers a different protagonist that's part of the family. Only the best for the lady.
And
Thank you.
interestingly, based on Irish mythology.
Yes, current time for us right now is 7 p.m. I usually get on at 6:30, but the rant was a little late, and I'm sure you guys wanted to have ample time with Castle, so I decided to procrastinate a little so you would have that. I forced him to stay here.
Her magnanimity knows no bounds.
Yep. I have to serve the people. What is that? What is that?
That's the waffle.
That's the waffle?
That's
That's
the waffle.
funny. That is funny. What's above the waffle? Oh, it's a little, talk
A little speech box.
speech bubble. That's funny. I like it, Milu. Waffle time. It looks like a moon, kind of. It's just like they make the emojis so small. Like, I get it. I get why. But sometimes I wish they were a little bigger so you could appreciate them. Wait, you know what? Where's my TikTok chat?
It's
Is
there
this
in the
here?
middle. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Hello to TikTok. We have Belinda and Raga.
Raga. And Cindy.
And Capitan, of course. And we have Valkyrie. Hello. And Cindy. Welcome in, you guys. Usually Kayla comes in, but I don't know if she will get notified.
I'm going to let the guild know.
For farts, I'm going to remake it. I have never used that term instead of for funsies. Yeah, when I heard about it, I kind of had it pictured like the square waffles with like a dollop of butter on it, but
No, she went with Belgian waffles. Classic.
well, you can have square Belgian waffles.
Okay.
Listen, my grandmother's cast iron waffle pan was square. Okay.
That's fine.
Hello, Teresa. I'm good, thank you.
But the Belgians only know how to draw circles. They don't know how to draw squares.
Yes, Maddie, I will sass you at midnight when you're up late. Midnight's not that late. I'm usually up well after then. Everyone tap, tap, tap to get the algorithm out. Well, thank you. Belgian waffles, yeah, right? I love Belgian waffles, too. Ruiners of fun. No, you can make them round. I'm just kidding. I tease, I love that on TikTok I look so tiny. I look like I'm a little hobbit that wandered in here to take your spot.
It's not incorrect, though.
It's not incorrect. I'm not that tiny.
You're close.
I'm average height. I'm just tiny in general. Yeah, I have seen you up at 3 a.m. I am also up at 3 a.m. because I can't turn my brain off sometimes. You know? I'm sure you've all been there. I get into a groove where get into a creative mode and then like really want to work late at night. I don't know what it is, but I've always been that way, and I've tried to force myself to do the early bird and work in the morning instead, and I can do, you know, like not the creative side as much. I can kind of just do the more mathematical tasks where there's a process and you just get it done. But when I want to be creative, it's in the evening. Sleep is for the weak. That's not true. Everyone needs sleep. Where the ADHD kicks in. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it does. Just have to think about everything. Like sometimes I'll say something random. And I'm sure there are times when Castler is like, how did you get to that topic? Like, where did this come from? And if I explained it to him, it would take forever because it's a weird rabbit hole, right? Like it forks many, many times. Hello, Brooke, welcome in. And it just like seemingly unrelated things get linked together. That's how ADHD brain works. Why does ADHD kick in when the world around you starts to quiet? Because it's quiet. Everything else settles. So like your brain's like, I need to fill this space in. You too, Maddie? You love the rabbit holes. I mean, sometimes. Sometimes. Hello, Cristalla. Welcome in. Welcome back. Okay. So, again, we are reading Child of the Prophecy. We just started it last week. We didn't even get through the first chapter because these chapters are very long. So if you have not been in here before, be prepared. We usually just do one chapter on Sundays because they are so long. And then if it happens to be a shorter one, we'll read a little bit of the next one. So, are you guys ready? Are we all ready? Yeah, then the conversation can end how it started. All right. Painting's good for ADHD, guys. No, yeah, it is. I do. I like acrylic paints more than oil paints. Oil painting to me is like, it's convenient and there's things that you can do much easier, but it's also like messy and stinky, you know? Like having to use linseed oil to clean your brushes. I'm just like, ugh. I like to keep my space clean, and using oils, it seems to be impossible. Yeah, you should, Milu. Even if you're just getting those coloring books for adults. Yeah, it still stinks. My poor books. They got stuck in a moldy storage container. And a lot of them got ruined, and I tried to save what I could, but it still smells. Sad. Yes, more reading for Muna. Trying to see. Okay, so presumably this is Kjaran's daughter. She has his mulberry red hair, and she's recanting a time when she was a little girl, and she's very isolated, it sounds like. It's just her and her father, which leads me to believe something happened to Neve. And she would get excited when it sounds like a tribe of people would visit during the summer season. So, Derek is a little boy that she befriended, and he is leaving, so now she's sad. And it also sounds like she has some kind of permanent injury to one of her ankles, maybe. So she doesn't have full physical capacity. And that's all we know because we haven't gotten that far. So here we go. Let me know if you hear my child in the background. He's a teenager and very loud when he's on talking with his friends. So Oh, well, thank you, Bear. I appreciate that. Okay. Ads in 5 already? Should I just do an ad right now so we have an hour? Maybe we should. Is this the ad? No, that's not the ad. There's the ad. So we'll do I guess a 3-minute ad. Do I have to do a 3-minute ad? Because when I did the 1 minute last time, it was like not that much time at all. You like to do paper mache? That's cool. I feel like a lot of people don't really do that anymore. Okay, I'm gonna do a 3-minute ad on Twitch, just so we can get it out of the way. I don't know, do we have anybody in Twitch that doesn't have a subscription? If we do not, then I'll just proceed. You know? I don't mind just talking about whatever. But yeah, those adult coloring books are nice too. Just if you don't want to have to use your creative brain to... Why does it keep doing that? Castle's right. Keeps blanking out. That's weird. So, but it's kind of like meditative just to have something that's there and you just color it in. Oh, you got your camera finally, Maddie? Good job. I don't? You don't what? Oh, you don't? Are you replying to Bear? Are you saying you don't speak truth? I think I got rid of them because in 5 years I didn't touch them. Oh, I see. I mean, you seem to be creative in other ways, like you do other things, so you might not have felt compelled to do it. I can understand that. I have some, like, I haven't really touched, but I didn't buy them for myself. And they are pretty. I just don't make the time to do it because there's always stuff to do, you know? Usually too much stuff to do. When I want to take a break from myself, I read a book. It's hard to do my artwork now. My eyes are failing. Oh, I see. And that's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I am blessed that my eyes aren't ruined by now because... Gosh. I've been doing creative stuff on the computer for 25 years? 25 years. That's crazy. That is wild. To think that. I think I was using like Photoshop 5. I get distracted by streams, do you? Yeah, and Home Things is good, Milu. It's productive. You were looking at drawing tablets of Try More Digital Art? Yeah, you should. Even, I had, the first one I got for myself was My Entire Life. No. I'm gonna be 40 next year, Kemian. So, not my entire life, but I was young. Started at about 14 years old. But, yeah, I started with a Wacom bamboo tablet. I don't know what they have now. I call BS. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna be 40 next May. I'll be 40. Yeah, I know. I'm not lying, I promise. So, yeah, I was a teenager when I started getting into graphic design and I fell in love with those Pixar movies and I was like, oh, I really want to do that. I would love to do these 3D movies as a form of storytelling. I just was really drawn to that. And I still love traditional art, obviously, and Maddie has stopped working. Amazon has some smaller ones for $36. Okay, yeah. You know, the Wacom bamboo, I think it was like $50 at the time. And I love Wacom. I have my Cintiq that I've had for years now, and it's like this giant monitor, and you just draw right on it. I love it. Ad's over. Thank you, Teresa, for letting me know. Also, my husband, I thought you were closer to 30, not 40. Yeah. Maybe off camera you would be able to tell more. I don't know. I have wrinkles. I've actually always had wrinkles on between my eyebrows because I guess when I'm concentrating, I furrow my brow. I look much younger than you, Maddie. I guess I'll have to find out tomorrow when you get on camera. You haven't seen me in a while, Destiny. I'd card you at the bar. I don't get carded anymore. So I must look of an appropriate age, at least. Yeah, the other day my aunt had told me, she was like, oh, I saw you and Everett on Facebook. And, you know, you guys look like your brother and sister. And I'm like, that's such an exaggeration, but thank you. I don't look that young. To be fair, I know I look younger than I am. And it was definitely awkward taking Everett to school. Because I was very involved and I would talk to everybody and get to know the teachers. And I'm sure they thought I must have been a teenager when I had him, right? Why does the age conversation always come up? I don't know. Well, because Kemian thought I had been using Photoshop all my life, and that's not possible. So I started when I was 14. So it's been 25-ish years now. Because we're old. Yeah, age is relevant, I suppose. Okay, ads done. We can continue. We will begin. You were a child prodigy, yeah. I was 2 years old and I started using Photoshop. Age is truly but a number in a lot of cases. Alright. We'll begin now. The days grew shorter and the dark time of the year began. With Derek gone, there was no real reason to linger out of doors, and so I applied myself to my work, and tried not to notice how cold it was inside the honeycomb, colder almost than the chill of the autumn wind up on the hilltop. It was an aching feeling that lodged deep in your bones and lingered there like a burden. I never complained. Father had shown me how to deal with it, and he expected me to do so. It was not that a sorcerer did not feel the heat of the fire or the bite of the north wind. A sorcerer was, after all, a man and not some otherworld creature. What you had to do was teach your body to cope with it, so that discomfort did not make you slow or inefficient. It had to do with breathing, mostly. More I cannot say. My father was once a druid. He said he had put all that behind him when he left the Brotherhood. But a man does not so easily discard all those years of training and discipline. I understood that much of what I had learned was secret, to be shared only with others of our kind. One did not lay it bare before the ignorant, or those whose minds were closed. Even now there are some matters of which I cannot and will not tell. There were many chambers in the honeycomb. We lit lamps year-round, and in my father's great workroom many candles burned, for there he stored his scrolls and books, grotesque and wondrous objects in jars, and little sacks of pungent-smelling powders. There was a dried basilisk, and a cup made from a twisted, curling horn, its base set with red stones. There was a tiny skull like a leprechaun's with empty eyes. There was a thick grimoire whose leather cover was darkened with age and long handling. In this room my father spent days and nights in solitude, perfecting his craft, learning, always learning. I knew how to read in more than one tongue, and to write in more than one script. I could recite many, many tales, and even more incantations. But I learned soon enough that the greatest magic is not set down in any book, nor mapped on any scroll for man to decipher. The most powerful spells are not created by tricks of the hand, or by mixing potions and philtres, or by chanting ancient words. I learned why it was that when my father was working hardest, all he seemed to be doing was standing very still in the center of an empty space, with his mulberry eyes fixed on nothing. For the deepest magic is that of the mind, and you will not find its lore recorded on parchment or vellum, or scratched on bark or stone. Not anywhere. Father owed his first learning to the wise ones, the druids of the forest. He had developed it through dedication and study, but our talent for the craft of sorcery was in our blood. Father was the son of a great enchantress, and from her he had acquired certain skills which he used sparingly, since they were both potent and perilous. One must take care, he said, not to venture too far and touch on dark matters best left sleeping. I could not remember my grandmother very well. I thought I recalled an elegant creature in a blue gown, who had peered into my eyes and given me a headache. I thought perhaps she had asked questions which I had answered angrily, not liking her intrusion into my ordered domain. But that had been long ago, when I was a little child. Father spoke of her seldom, save to say that our blood was tainted by the line she came from, a line of sorcerers who did not understand that some boundaries should never be crossed. And yet, said Father, she was powerful, subtle, and clever, and she was my grandmother. Part of her was in both of us, and we should not forget that. It ensured we would never live our lives as ordinary folk, with friends and family and honest work. It gave us exceptional talents, and it set our steps toward a destiny of darkness. I was 8 years old. It was May and Gera, and the north wind beat the stunted trees prostrate. It threw the waves crashing against the cliff face, forcing icy spray deep inside the tunneled passages of the honeycomb. The pebbly shore was strewn with tangles of weed and fractured shells. The fishermen hauled their curas up out of harm's way, and folk went hungry. "Concentrate, Fianna," said my father, as my frozen fingers fumbled and slipped. "Use your mind, not your hands." I set my jaw, screwed up my eyes, and started again. A trick that was all this was. It should be easy. Stretch out your arms, look at the shining ball of glass where it stood on the shelf by the far wall, with the candle's glow reflected in its deceptive surface. Bridge the gap with your mind. Think the distance. Think the leap. Keep still. Let the ball do the work. Will the ball into your hands. Will the ball to you. Come here. Come to me, fragile and delicate, round and lovely. Come to my hands. It was cold. My fingers ached, it was so cold. I could hear the waves smashing outside. I could hear the glass balls smashing on the stone floor. My arms fell to my sides. "Very well," said Father calmly. "Fetch a broom, sweep it up. Then tell me why you failed." There was no judgment in his voice. As always, he wished me to judge myself. That way I would learn more quickly. "I let myself think of something else," I said, stooping to gather up the knife-edged shards. "I let the link be broken. I'm sorry, Father. I can do this. I will do it next time." "I know," he said, turning back to his own work. "Practice this twice 50 times with something unbreakable. Then come back and show me." "Yes, Father." It was too cold to sleep anyway. I might as well spend the night doing something useful. I was 10 years old. I stood very still right in the center of my father's workroom, with my eyes focused on nothing. Above my head the fragile ball hovered, held in its place by invisible forces. I breathed. Slow, very slow. With each outward breath a tiny adjustment. Up, down, left, right. "Spin," I told the ball, and it whirled, glowing in the candlelight. "Stop. Now circle around my head." My eyes did not follow the steady movement. I need not see it to know its obedience to my will. "Stop. Now drop." The infinitesimal pause, then the dive, a sweep before me of glittering brightness, descent to destruction. "Stop." The diver halted a handspan above the stone floor. The ball hung in the air, waiting. I blinked and bent to scoop it in my hand. Father nodded gravely. "Your control is improving. These tricks are relatively easy, of course, but to perform them well requires discipline. I am pleased with your progress, Vanya." "Thank you." Such praise was rare indeed. "You have now eaten dinner? Good." It was more usual for him simply to acknowledge that I had mastered something and go straight on to the next task. "Don't become complacent now." "No, Father." "It's time to venture into a more challenging branch of the art. For this, you'll need to find new reserves within yourself. It can be exhausting. Take a few days to rest. We'll begin at Imbolc." What after time could there be, indeed? His tone was bitter. "Yes, Father." I did not ask him what he meant, though it troubled me deeply that he seemed so sad. I knew it was at Brigid's feast that he first met my mother. Not that he ever spoke of her, not deliberately. That tale was well hidden within him, and he was a masterly keeper of secrets. The little I knew I had gleaned here and there, a morsel at a time over the years. There was a remark of Peg's, overheard while I waited for Derek under the trees behind the encampment, unseen by his mother. She was very beautiful, Peg had said to her friend Molly. The two of them were sitting in the morning sunlight, fingers flying as they fashioned their intricate baskets. Tall, slender, with the bright copper hair down her back, like a fairy woman. But she was always a little touched, you know what I mean? He'd watch over her like a wolf guarding its young, but he couldn't stop what happened. You could see it in her eyes right from the first. Molly had replied. Girl takes after her father then, strange little thing. She can't help what she is, said Peg. And I remembered another time, one summer when the weather was especially warm, and Derek finally grew impatient with my persistent refusal to go anywhere near the water. Why won't you let me teach you how to swim? He'd asked me. Is it because of her? Because of what happened to her? What? I said. What do you mean? You know, your mother. Because because of what she did. That's what they say, that you're frightened of the water, because she jumped off of the honeycomb and drowned herself. Of course not, I replied, swallowing hard. My child. I just don't want to, that's all. How could he know that until that moment? Nobody had told me how she died. I tried to dredge up some memory of my mother, tried to picture the lovely figure Peg had described, but there was nothing. All I could remember was father and the honeycomb. Something had happened long since and far away, something that had damaged my mother and wounded my father, and set the path forward for us, for all of us, in a way there was no denying. Father had never told me the tale. Still, it was an unspoken lesson built into everything he taught me. Time to begin, said Father, regarding me rather severely. This will be serious work, Vanya. It may be necessary to curtail your freedom this summer. Yes, Father. Good. He gave a nod. Stand here by me. Look into the mirror. Watch my face. The surface was bronze, polished to a bright, reflective sheen. Our images showed side by side, the same face with subtle alterations. The dark red curls, the fierce eyes, dark as ripe berries, the pale, unfreckled skin. My father's countenance was handsome enough, I thought, if somewhat forbidding in expression. Mine was a child's, unformed, plain, a little pudding of a face. I scowled at my reflection, and glanced back at my father in the mirror. I sucked in my breath. My father's face was changing. The nose grew hooked, the deep red hair frosted with white, the skin wrinkled and blotched like an ancient apple left too long in store. I stared aghast. He raised a hand, and it was his old man's hand, gnarled and knotted, with nails like the claws of some feral creature. I could not tear my eyes away from the mirrored image. Now look at me, he said quietly, and the voice was his own. I forced my eyes to flicker sideways, though my heart shrank at the thought that the man standing by me might be this wizened husk of my fine, upright father. And there he was, the same as ever. Dark eyes fixed on mine, hair still curling glossily auburn about his temples. I stared back into the mirror. Yeah, hello, Everett in the background. The face was changing again. It wavered for a moment, and still. This time the difference was more subtle. The hair a shade lighter, a touch straighter. The eyes a deep blue, not the unusual shade of dark purple my father and I shared. The shoulders somewhat broader, the height a handspan greater. The nose and chin with a touch of coarseness not seen there before. It was my father still, and yet it was a different man. This time, he said, when you take your eyes from the mirror, you will see what I want you to see. Don't be frightened, Fanya. I am still myself. This is the glamour, which we use to clothe ourselves for a special purpose. It is a powerful tool if employed adeptly. It is not so much an alteration of one's appearance as a shift in others' perception. The technique must be exercised with extreme caution. When I looked this time, the man at my side was the man in the mirror, my father, and not my father. I blinked, but he remained not himself. My heart was thumping in my chest, and my hands felt clammy. Good, said my father quietly. Breathe slowly as I showed you. Deal with your fear and put it aside. The skill is not learned in a day or a season or a year. You'll have to work extremely hard. Then why didn't you start teaching me before? I managed, still deeply unsettled to see him so changed. It would almost have been easier if he had transformed himself into a dog, or a horse, or a small dragon even. Not this. This not quite right version of himself. You were too young before. This is the right age. Now come. And suddenly he was himself again, as quick as a snap of the fingers. Step by step, use the mirror. We'll start with the eyes. Concentrate, Vanya. Breathe from the belly. Look into the mirror. Look at the point just between the brows. Good. Will your body to utter stillness. Put aside the awareness of time passing. I will give you some words to use at first. In time you must learn to work without the mirror, and without the incantation. By dusk I was exhausted. My head hollow as a dry gourd, my body cold and damp with sweat. We rested, seated opposite one another on the stone floor. How can I know? I asked him. How can I know what is real and what is an image? How can I know that the way I see you is the true way? You could be an ugly, wrinkled old man clothed in the glamour of a sorcerer. Father nodded, his pale features somber. You cannot know. But it would be possible for one skilled in the art to sustain this guise for years, if it were necessary. It would be possible for such a one to deceive all, or almost all. As I said, it is a powerful tool. Almost all? He was silent a moment, then gave a nod. You will not blind another practitioner of our art with this magic. There are 3, I think, who will always know your true self. A sorcerer, a seer, and an innocent. You look weary, Fanya. Perhaps you should rest, and begin this anew in the morning. I'm well, Father, I said, anxious not to disappoint him. I can go on, truly. I'm stronger than I look. Father smiled, a rare sight. That seemed to me a change deeper than any of the glamour could effect. As if it were truly another man I saw, the man he might have been, if fate had treated him more kindly. I forget sometimes... no, never mind, says him. I forget sometimes how young you are, daughter, he said gently. I am a hard taskmaster, am I not? No, Father, I said. My eyes were curiously stinging, as if with tears. I'm strong enough. Oh, yes, he said, his mouth once more severe. I don't doubt that for a moment. Come then, let us begin again. I was 12 years old, and for a short time I was taller than Derek. That summer my father didn't let me out much. When he did give me a brief time for rest, I crept away from the honeycomb and up the hill, no longer sure if this was allowed, but not prepared to ask permission in case it was refused. Derek would be waiting for me, practicing the pipes as often as not, for Dan had taught him well, and the exercise of his skill was a pleasure more than duty. We didn't explore the caves anymore, or walk along the shore looking for shells, or make little fires with twigs. Most of the time we sat in the shadow of the standing stones, or in a hollow near the cliff's edge, and we talked. And then I went home again with the sweet sound of the pipes arching through the air behind me. Hi, baby. You wanna come up here? Come on. Come on. Come. Come. Come here. Come. Such a goofball. Let's come on up. Yeah, Everett. So loud. I say we talked, but it was usually the way of it that Derek talked and I listened, content to sit quiet in his company. Besides, what had I to talk about? The things I did were secret, not to be spoken. And increasingly, Derek's world was unknown to me, foreign, like some sort of thrilling dream that could never come true. "Why doesn't he take you back to Seven Waters?" he asked one day, somewhat incautiously. "We've been there once or twice, you know. There's an old auntie of my dad's still lives there. You've got a whole family in those parts, uncles, aunts, cousins by the cartload. They'd make you welcome, I've no doubt of it." Why should he? I glared at him, finding any criticism of my father difficult, however indirectly expressed. Obligatory cattails, yeah. I don't know where Boo is. Milo is over here. Being curious. He's still quite young. Because... Derek seemed to struggle for words. Because that's the way of it with families. You grow up together, you do things together, you learn from each other and look after each other, and I have my father. He has me. We don't need anyone else. It's no life, Derek muttered. It's not a life for a girl. I'm not a girl. I'm a sorcerer's daughter, I retorted, raising my brows at him. There's no need for me to go to Seven Waters. My home is here. You're doing it again, said Derek after a moment. What? That thing you do when you're angry. Your eyes start glowing and little flashes of light go through your hair like flames. Don't tell me you didn't know. Well then, I said, thinking I had better exercise more control over my feelings. Well, what? Well, that just goes to show that I'm not just a girl, so you can stop planning my future for me. I can plan it myself. Uh-huh. He did not ask for the details. We sat silent for a while, watching the gulls wheel above the returning curas. The sea was dark as slate. There would be a storm before dusk. After a while, he started to tell me about the white pony he brought down from the hills, and how his dad would be wanting him to sell her for a good price at the horse fair. But Derek wasn't sure he could part with her, for there was a rare understanding growing between the two of them. By the time he'd finished telling me, I was rapt with attention, and had quite forgotten I was still cross with him. I was 14 years old, and the summer was nearly over. Father was pleased with me. I could see it in his eyes. The glamour was tricky. It was possible to achieve some spectacular results. My father could turn himself into a different being entirely. A bright-eyed red fox, or a strange wraith-like creature most resembling an attenuated wisp of smoke. He gave me the words for this, but he would not allow me to attempt it. There was a danger in it, if used incautiously. The risk was that one might lack the necessary controls to reverse the spell. There was always the chance that one might never come back to oneself. Besides, Father told me, such a transformation caused a major drain on a sorcerer's power. What are you doing? What are you doing? Where are all your toys, huh? Did you lose them all? Oh. You're so inelegant. Just bonked his head. What's up, baby? What's up? You can't have coffee. Yeah, she took his toys. The further from one's true self the semblance was, the more severe the resultant depletion. Say one became a ferocious sea monster, or an eagle with razor-sharp talons, and then managed to return to oneself. For a while after that, no exercise of the craft would be possible. It could be as long as a day and a night. During that time, the sorcerer would be at his or her most vulnerable. Hello, Esther! I didn't know you were in here. So I was forbidden to try the major variants of the spell, which dealt with non-human forms, but the other, the more subtle changing that I discovered a talent for. At first it was hard work, leaving me exhausted and shaken, but I applied myself, and in time I could slip the glamour on and off in a twinkle of an eye. I learned to conceal my weariness. You understand, said Father gravely, that what you create is simply a deception of others' eyes. If your disguise is subtle, just a convenient alteration of yourself, folk will be unaware that things have changed. They will simply wonder why they did not notice before, how utterly charming you were, or how trustworthy your expression. They will not know that they have been manipulated. And when you change back to yourself, they will not know they ever saw you differently. A complete disguise is another matter. That must be used most carefully. It can create difficulties. It is always best to keep your guise as close as possible to your own form. That way you can slip back easily and regain your strength quickly. Excuse me a moment. He turned away from me, suppressing a deep cough. Sir! Stop scratching up my chair. Yeah, I see you. Got him a wheel, but I think he needs like a whole jungle gym. Are you unwell? I asked. It was unusual for him to have so much as a sniffle, even in the depths of winter. I'm well, Fanya, he said. Don't fuss. Now remember what I said about the glamour. If you use the major forms, you take a great personal risk. But I could do it, I protested. Change myself into a bird or serpent. I'm sure I could. Can't I try, just once? Father looked at me. Be glad, he said, that you have no need of it. Believe that it is perilous, a spell of last resort. It was no longer possible to take time off from my studies. I had scarcely seen the sun all summer, for Father had arranged to have our small supply of bread and fish and vegetables brought up to the honeycomb by one of the local girls. There was a spring in one of the deep gullies, and it was Father himself who went with a bucket for water now. I stayed inside, working. I was training myself not to care. At first it hurt a lot, knowing Derek would be out there, somewhere looking for me, waiting for me. Later, when he gave up waiting, it hurt even more. I'd escaped briefly to a high ledge above the water, a secret place accessible only from inside the vaulted passages of the honeycomb. From this vantage point you could see the full sweep of the bay, from our end with its sheer cliffs and pounding breakers to the western end, where the far promontory sheltered the scattering of cottages and the bright, untidy camp of the traveling folk. You could see the boys and girls running on the shore, and hear their laughter borne on the breath of the west wind, mingled with the wild voices of seabirds. Derek was there among them, taller now, for he had shot up this last winter away. His dark hair was thrown back from his face by the wind, and his grin was as crooked as ever. There was always a girl hanging around him now, sometimes 2 or 3. One in particular I noticed, a little slip of a thing with skin brown from the sun, and a long plait down her back. Wherever Derek went, she wasn't far away, white teeth flashing in a smile. Hand on her hip, looking. With no good reason at all, I hated her. The lads used to dive off the rocks down below the honeycomb, unaware of my presence on the ledge above. They were of an age when a boy believes himself invincible, when every lad is a hero who can slay whatever monsters cross his path. The ledge they chose was narrow and slippery. The sea below, dark, chill, and treacherous. The dive must be calculated to the instant to avoid catching the force of an incoming wave that would crush you against the jagged rocks at the honeycomb's base. Again and again they did it, 3 or 4 of them, waiting for the moment, bare feet gripping the rock, bodies nut brown in the sun, while the girls and the smaller children stood watching from the shore, silent in anticipation. Then, sudden and shocking, no matter how often repeated, the plunge to the forbidden waters below. 2 or 3 times that summer I saw them. The last time I was there, I saw Derek leave the ledge and climb higher, nimble as a crab on the crevices of the stark cliffside, scrambling up to perch on the tiniest foothold, far above the diving point. I caught my breath in shock. He could not intend, surely he did not intend. I bit my lip and tasted salt blood. I screwed my hands into fists so tight my nails cut my palms. The fool. Why would he try such a thing? How could he possibly? He stood poised there a moment, as his audience hushed and froze, feeling no doubt some of the same fascinated terror that gripped me. Far, far below the waves crashed and sucked, and far above the gulls screamed a warning. Derek did not raise his arms for a dive. He simply leaned forward and plummeted down head first, straight as an arrow, hands by his sides, down and down until his body entered the water as neatly as a gannet diving for fish. And I watched one great wave wash over the spot where he had vanished, and another, and a third, while my heart hammered with fear, and then, much farther in toward the shore, a sleek dark head emerged from the water, and he began to swim, and a cheer went up from the boys on the ledge, and the girls on the sand, and when he came out of the water, dripping, laughing, she was there to greet him, and to offer him the shawl from her own shoulders to dry himself with. I did not concentrate very well that day, and Father gave me a sharp look but said nothing. It was my own choice not to go back and watch them after that. What Father had taught me was right. A sorcerer, or a sorcerer's daughter, could not perform the task required, could not practice the art to the full, if other things were allowed to get in the way. Yeah, that's true, Lorraine. That's true. It was close to Lanassa, and that summer's end when my father told me his own story at last. We sat before the fire after a long day's work, drinking our ale. At such times we were mostly silent, absorbed with our own thoughts. I was watching Father as he stared into the flames, and I was thinking how he was losing weight, the bones of his face showing stark beneath the skin. He was even paler than usual. Teaching me must be a trial to him sometimes. No wonder he looked weary. I would have to try harder. Hello.
I'm going to go and read some stories.
You are? You're leaving me?
Only momentarily.
Okay. If you must.
You need any snacks or anything? There's water in the tank.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Everybody behaving?
Yes. I think
You can't see any of your events because
it's all covered, yeah. I know. It just keeps going blank.
Yeah, but now and again after Windows updates, it does that.
I know. I hate Windows updates. No, we are not. Capitan says
Wow.
they're not behaving.
No. Well, Destiny always tries to misbehave, but she's like the student who leans back in her chair just a little bit more than she's allowed. So it's rebellion, but it's kind of within the scope of
She's like, I'm gonna wear my hat backwards in this classroom.
Yeah.
I am behaving, the gutter isn't, though, I see. Bear does always behave. Pineapple pizza is a god. No, it is not, Maddie. Rude. What? It's cute. It's definitely not meant to be mean. Alright. You know, we are descended from a line of sorcerers, Vanya, he said suddenly. Is it simply following a train of thought? Yes, Father. And you understand what that means? I was puzzled that he should ask me this. That we are not the same as ordinary folk, and never can be. We are set apart, neither one thing nor the other. We can exercise the craft for what purpose we may choose, but some elements of magic are beyond us. We may touch the other world, but are not truly of it. We live in this world, but we never really belong to it. Good, Vanya. You understand, in theory, very well. But it is not the same to go out into the world and discover what this means. You cannot know what pain this half-existence can bring. Tell me, do you remember your grandmother? It is a long time since she came here. 10 years and more. Perhaps you have forgotten her. I frowned in concentration. I think I can remember. She had eyes like ours, and she stared at me until my head hurt. She asked me what I'd learned, and when I told her, she laughed. I wanted her to go away. Father nodded grimly. My mother does not choose to go abroad in the world, not now. She keeps to the darker places. But we cannot dismiss her, nor her arts. We bear her legacy within us, you and I, whether we will or no. And it is through her that we are both less and more than ordinary folk. I had no wish to tell you more of this, but the time has come when I must. Will you listen to my story? Yes, Father, I whispered, shocked. Very well. Know then that for 18 years of my existence, I grew up in the Nemetons, under the protection and nurture of the Wise Ones. What came before that I cannot remember, for I dwelt deep in the great forest of Seven Waters from little more than an infant. Oak and ash were my companions. I slept on wattles of rowan, the better to hear the voice of the spirit, and I wore the plain robe of the initiate. I was a childhood of discipline and order, frugal in the provision for bodily needs, but full of rich food for the mind and spirit, devoid of the baser elements of man's existence, surrounded by the beauty of tree and stream, lake and mossy stone. I grew to love learning, Fanya. This love I have tried to impart to you, over the years of your own childhood. The greater part of my training in the Druid way I owed to a man called Connor, who became leader of the Wise Ones during my time there. He took a particular interest in my education. Connor was a hard taskmaster. He would never give a straight response to a question. Always he would set me in the right direction, but leave me to work out the answers for myself. I learned quickly, and was eager for more. I progressed, I grew older, and was a young man. Connor did not give praise easily, but he was pleased with me, and just before I had completed my training, and might at last call myself a druid, he allowed me to accompany him to the great house of Seven Waters to assist in the ritual of Invoke. It was the first time I had been outside the Nemetons, in the depths of the forest. It was the first time I had seen folk other than my brethren of the Wise Ones. Connor performed the ritual and lit the sacred fire, and I bore the torch for him. It was the culmination of the long years of training. After supper, he allowed me to tell a tale to the assembled company, and he was proud of me. I could see it on his face, clever as he was at concealing his thoughts. There was a gladness in my heart that night, as if the hand of the goddess herself had touched my spirit and set my feet on a path I might follow joyfully for the rest of my days. From then on, I thought, I would be dedicated to the way of the light. Seven Waters is a great house and a great tooth. A man called Liam was the master there, Connor's brother. And there was a sister, Sorsha, of whom wondrous things were said. She was herself a powerful storyteller, and a famous healer, and her own tale was the strangest of all. Her brothers had been turned into swans by an evil enchantress, and Sorsha had won them back their human form through a deed of immense courage and sacrifice. Looking at her, it was hard to believe that it might be true, for she was such a little fragile thing. But I knew it was true. Connor had told me. Connor, who himself had taken the form of a wild creature for 3 long years. Okay, they're silly. They are a family of considerable power and influence, and they possess skills beyond the ordinary. That night, everything was new to me. A great house, a feast with more food than I had ever seen before, platters of delicacies and ale flowing in abundance, lights and music and dancing. I found it difficult, alien. But I stood and watched a wonderful, beautiful girl dancing, whirling and laughing with her long copper-bright hair down her back, and her skin glowing gold in the flare of the torches. Later, in the great hall, it was for her I told my story. That night it was not of the goddess nor my fine ideals that I dreamed, but of Neve, daughter of seven waters, spinning and turning in her blue gown, and smiling at me as she glanced my way. This was not at all what Connor had intended in bringing me with him to the feast. But once it had begun, there was no going back. I loved her, and she loved me. We met in the forest in secret. There was no doubt difficulties would be raised if we were to make our intentions known. A druid can marry if he wishes, but it is very unusual to make that choice. Besides, Connor had plans for me, and I knew he would not take the idea well. Neve was not promised, but she said her family might take time to accept the idea of her wedded to a young man whose parentage was entirely unknown. She was, after all, the niece of Lord Liam himself. But for us there was no alternative. We could not envisage a future in which we were apart. So we met under the oaks, away from prying eyes, and while we were together, the difficulties melted away. We were young. Then it seemed as if we had all the time in the world. He paused to cough and took a sip of his ale. I sensed that telling this tale was very difficult for him, and kept my silence. In time we were discovered. How, it does not matter. Connor's nephew came galloping into the Nemetons and fetched his uncle away, and I heard enough to know Neve was in trouble. When I reached Seven Waters, I was ushered into a small room, and there was Connor himself, and his brother, who was ruler of the Tuath, and Neve's father, the Briton. I expected to encounter some opposition. I hoped to be able to make a case for Neve to become my wife, at least to present what credentials I had, and be afforded a hearing. But this was not to be. There would be no marriage. They had no interest at all in what I had to say. That in itself seemed a fatal blow. But there was more. The reason this match was not allowed was not the one I had expected. It was not my lack of suitable breeding and resources. It was a matter of blood ties, for I was not, as I had believed, some lad of unknown parentage, adopted and nurtured by the wise ones. There had been a long lie told, a vital truth withheld. I was the offspring of a sorceress, an enemy of Seven Waters. At the time, I was the seventh son of Lord Colum, once ruler of the Tuath. I stared at him, a chieftain's son of noble blood, and they had not told him. That was unfair. Lord Colum's son, but that meant... Yes, said my father, eyes grave as he studied my face. I was half-brother to Connor, and to Lord Liam, who now ruled there, and Sorsha. I bore evil blood, and I was too close to Neve. I was her mother's half-brother. Our union was forbidden by law. So at one blow I lost both my beloved and my future. How could the son of a sorceress aspire to the ways of light? How could the offspring of such a one ever become a druid? It was bright vision blinded, pure hope sullied. As for Neve, they had her future all worked out. She would marry another, some chieftain of influence who would take her conveniently far away, so they would not have to think about how close she had come to besmirching the family honor. There was a dark bitterness in his tone. He put his ale cup down on the hearth and twisted his hands together. "That's terrible," I whispered. "Terrible and sad. Is that what happened? Did they send her away?" "She married and traveled far north to Tyrconnell. Her husband treated her cruelly. I knew nothing for a time, for I was gone away in search of my past. That is another story. At last Neve escaped. Her sister saw the truth of the situation and aided her. I was sent a message and came for her, but the damage was done, Vanya. She never really recovered from it. Father. What is it, Vanya? He sounded terribly tired, his voice faint and rasping. Wasn't my mother happy here in Kerry? For a while I thought he was not going to answer. It seemed to me he had reached deep within himself for the words. Happiness is relative. There were times of content. Your birth was one. And that Neve believed she had at last done something right. We knew the choice we had made went against natural laws. That choice condemned us to a life of exile, here where men neither knew us nor judged us. Some would call us such love an abomination, yet it was the only fine thing, the only true thing in my life. I had not the strength to deny it. Neve's eyes grew bright once more. I thought she was well again. I was ill prepared for what happened in the end. It seemed she never recaptured what she had lost. Perhaps her final answer was the only one she had left. It is a very sad story, I said, but I'm glad you told me. It has been necessary to tell you, Vanya. Father said very quietly. I've been giving some consideration to your future. I think the time has come for you to move on. What do you mean, move on? My heart began to thump in alarm. Can I begin to learn some other branch of the craft? I am eager to progress, Father. I will work hard, I promise. No, Vanya, that is not what I mean. The time is coming when you must go away for a while, to make yourself known to the family of whom I told you. Those who have by now completely forgotten that Neve ever existed, to cause them embarrassment and inconvenience. It is time for you to go to Seven Waters. What? I was aghast. Leave Kerry? Leave the cove? Travel all that way to end up in the midst of those who had treated my parents so abominably that they had never been able to return to their home? How could he suggest such a thing? Now, Vanya, be calm and listen. Father looked grave. The firelight showed me the hollows and lines of his face, the shadow of the old man to come. I bit back a flood of anxious questions. You're getting older, he said. You are the granddaughter of a chieftain of Ulster. The other side of your lineage does not change that. Your mother would not have wished you to grow up alone here with me, knowing no more than this narrow circle of fisherfolk and travelers, spending your whole life in practice at craft. Here, there is a wider world, daughter, and you must go forward and take that place. The folk of the forest have a debt to repay, and they will do so. But Father, his words made no sense to me. I knew nothing but the terror of being sent away, of leaving the only safe place I knew in all the world. The craft. What are you telling me? The craft is the only important thing. I've spent so long learning, and I'm good at it. I'm really good. You said so yourself. Hush, Vanya. Breathe slowly. Make your mind calm. There is no need to distress yourself. Do not fear that you will lose your skills or lack the opportunity to use them once you are gone from here. I have prepared you too well for that to occur. But Seven Waters, a great house with so many strangers. Father, I could not begin to explain how much that terrified me. There is no need for such anxiety. It is true, Seven Waters was a place of grief and loss both for me and for your mother. But the folk of that family are not all bad. I have no quarrel with your mother's sister. Leodin did me a great favor once. If it were not for her, Neve would never have escaped that travesty of a marriage. I have not forgotten it. Leodin followed her mother's pattern in choosing to wed a Briton. She went against Connor's will. She allied herself with an outlaw, and took her child away from the forest. Both Leodin and her husband are good people, though it may be some time before you see them, for they dwell now at Harrowfield across the water. It is appropriate that you should meet Connor. I want him to know of you. You will be ready, Vanya. You'll go next summer. We have a full year to prepare. Those things which I cannot tell you, my mother will. His lips twisted in a mirthless smile. Oh, I said in a small voice. Is she coming here? My grandmother. Later, father replied coolly. It may not be greatly to your liking or mine, but my mother has a part to play in this, and there is no doubt she has many skills you'll find helpful. In a place like Seven Waters, you must be able to conduct yourself in every way as the daughter of a chieftain would. That you can never learn from me. I acquired deep knowledge in the Nemetons, but I never discovered how to go out into the world as Lord Colum's son. I'm sorry, father, I said, aware that my own distress was nothing beside his. I had thought one day I might become like you, a great scholar and mage. Oh, thank you, Maddie. The lessons you have taught me, the long seasons of practice and study, won't all that be wasted if I am sent away to be some kind of fine lady? Father's lips curved. You will use all your skills at Seven Waters, I think, he said. I have taught you the craft as my mother taught me, oh yes, he added, seeing my eyes widen in surprise. She is an adept, unparalleled in certain branches of magic, and such as she is need not be present in body in order to teach. I thought of the locked chamber, the long times of silence. He had indeed kept his secrets well. I don't invite her here lightly, Fanya. My mother is a dangerous woman. I've kept her away from you as long as I could, but we need her now. It's time. You should have no misgivings. You are my daughter, and I am proud of your skills and all you have achieved. That I send you away is a sign of the great faith I have in you, Fanya. Faith in your talents, and trust in your ability to find the right purpose for them. I hope one day it will become clear to you what I mean. Now, it's late, and we've work to do in the morning. Let's get some sleep, daughter. There was sadness in his eyes, and in the set of his shoulders, but I did not know how to comfort him. Peg and Molly and the others, they were free with hugs and kisses, with tears and laughter, as if such matters were simple. It hurt me to see my father's sorrow. It hurt more than that I was powerless to mend it. Good night, father, I whispered, vowing inwardly that I would work harder than ever, and do my best to please him by mastering whatever skills he chose to teach me. I was deeply shocked by what my father had told me, and inwardly much troubled. Still, a year was a long time. Anything could happen in a year. Perhaps I would not have to go. Maybe he would change his mind. Meanwhile, there was nothing for it but to continue with the practice of the craft, for it was if the worst happened and my father did send me away by myself, I wanted as much skill as I could master to help me. I put aside any misgivings and applied myself to work. The weather was quite warm, but father still had a persistent cough and a shortness of breath. He tried to conceal it, but I heard him, late at night when I lay awake in the darkness. I was practicing without the mirror. Gradually, I had reduced the incantation to a couple of words. I made my eyes blue, or green, or clear winter sky gray. I shaped them long and slanted, or round as a cat's, thick-lashed, bulbous, sunken, and old. As the season passed, I moved on to the other features. The nose, the mouth, the bones of the face, the hair, the garments. An old crone in tatters, myself in future guise, maybe. A fisher girl with her hand on her hip, and her come-hither smile, white teeth flashing. A Fanya who was like myself, almost a twin but subtly changed. The lips sweeter, the brows more arched, the lashes longer. The figure slighter and more shapely. The skin pale and fine as translucent pearl. A dangerous Fanya. Good, said my father, watching me as I slipped from one guise to the next. You've an aptitude for this, there's no doubt of it. The semblance is quite convincing. But can you sustain it, I wonder? Of course I can, I responded instantly. Try me if you will. I'll do just that. Father was gathering up a bundle of scrolls and letters. and a tightly strapped goatskin bag whose contents might have been anything. Here, carry this. The walk will be good for you. He was already making for the passageway to the outside, his sandaled feet noiseless on the stone floor. Where are we going? I was taken aback and hastened after him, still in the guise of not myself. Dan heads back north in the morning. I've business for him to conduct on my behalf, and messages to be delivered. Stay as you are, act as you seem. Maintain this until we return. Let me see your strength. But won't they notice that I am different? They've not seen you for a year. Girls grow up quickly. No cause for concern. But Father glanced back over his shoulder as we came out of the honeycomb onto the cliff path. His expression was neutral. Is there a problem? He asked. No, Father. There was no problem. Only Dan and Peg and the other men and women with their sharp looks and their ready comments. Only the girls with their giggling whispers and the boys with their jokes. Only the fact that I had not once gone right into the encampment without Derek by my side. Not in all the long years Dan Walker's folk had been spending their summers at the bay. You have a storm rolling in? Oh, we're gonna have ads? Alright, let's go ahead and do ads. And I'll take a wee break. Just lost my spot because I'm dumb. You have to head to bed? Okay. I understand. Get some rest. You did a lot of work today. Good night. Sleep well. Give love to the family. Oh, we all hanging in there? Hello, Paul. Welcome in. We're taking just a short break, running an ad on Twitch. And we are reading Child of the Prophecy by Juliet Maillet. Forgot I took the cover off. First cover. Yep. Also, not sure if this is a good idea, but once I get the tier stuff sorted out, I'm hoping to hand out 3 subs on my channel. Oh, okay, that'll be cool. You could, I don't know. I guess you can't really do giveaways on Twitch. I must remember the name of the book. It sounds interesting. It is very interesting. The first book is called Daughter of the Forest. It's inspired by the old folktale about the children who are turned into swans. There's actually 2 of them. There's the wild swans, and then there's also the children of Lear. And if you are familiar with those, then you'll know that there was some sorcery that happened. But yeah, the first book's protagonist is a young girl who and all of her older brothers are turned into swans by a sorceress. And she has to find a way to bring them back. And she has to do this by staying silent and creating shirts for them out of starwort, which is very prickly and painful, and she has to do it all by hand without making a sound. Storm is messing with your connection? Oh no! That's a bummer. Yeah, the Swan Children. It's very good. And I actually read another book recently who also used that folklore as inspiration to do a Japanese version where her brothers are turned into cranes. And it was pretty good. I'm actually still reading the second book. I haven't picked it up in a while. What was it called? I think it was just called Six Cranes. Could be wrong. I think that's what it was. But that one was interesting too. Put a spin on it with a different culture. I will be needing to add these to my library when you get home. Yes, you definitely should. Okay, looks like the ad is done, so we can continue. Alright. Only that going among people still filled me with terror, even though I was a sorcerer's daughter, for my clever tricks scarcely outweighed my limping, awkward gait and crippling shyness. But then I thought as I followed my father's striding, dark-cloaked figure along the path and down the hillside toward the cove. Today I was not that girl. Not that Fanya. Instead, I was whatever I pleased. I was the other Fanya, the glamour wrapping me in a soft raiment of gracefulness, smoothing my curls into a glossy flow of silk, making my walk straight and even, drawing the eye to my long, curling lashes and my demure, pretty smile. They would see me, Dan and Peg and the others, and they would admire me, and never notice that anything had changed. Ready? Father asked under his breath as we came along the path and caught sight of the cluster of folk preparing livestock and belongings for next morning's early departure. Dogs were racing around, yapping, and children chased each other in and out between carts and ponies and the legs of men and women about their tasks. As we came closer and were seen, people drew back as was their habit, leaving a neat, untenanted space around my father. He was unperturbed, striding on forward until he spotted Dan Walker, making some fine adjustments to a piece of harness. A couple of lads were bringing their ponies up from the shore, and they glanced my way. I put a hand on one hip casually, and looked back at them under my lashes, as I had seen that other girl do, the one with the teeth. One lad looked down as if abashed, and moved on. The other one gave an appreciative whistle. "And drop this off at St. Ronan's," my father was telling Dan Walker. "I'm grateful to you, as always." "It's nothing. Gotta go that way regardless this year. It's close enough to Seven Waters. Can't pass these parts without calling in the old auntie. I'd never be forgiven. She's getting long in the tooth, but she's a sharp one, always has been. Got any messages for the folk up there?" The question was thrown in as if quite by chance. Father's features tightened almost imperceptibly. "Not this time." I took a step forward and then another, and I was aware that Peg and the other women were watching me from where they hung clothing on the bushes to dry, and I saw now that Dan's eyes too were fixed on me, appraising. I looked away, down toward the sea. "Girls turned out a credit to you, Kieran," Dan said. He had lowered his voice, but I heard him all the same. "Who'd have thought it? Right little beauty she's turning into. Takes after her mother. You'd best be finding a husband for her before too long." There was a pause. "No offense," Dan added without emphasis. "The suggestion was inappropriate," my father said. "My daughter is a child." Dan made no comment, but I could feel his eyes following me as I walked over to the line of ponies tied up loosely in the shade under the trees, cropping at the rough grass. I could feel many eyes following me, and they were not amused or pitying or scornful, but curious, admiring, intrigued. It made me feel quite strange. Yes, 6 crimson cranes, that's the one. Thank you, Esther. Yeah, I don't think it's very well known. Yes, Elizabeth Lim, that's the one. It's a 4-book series? Okay, that I didn't know. I thought there was only 2. I'll have to look at that. Good to know. But yeah, that one was interesting too. The main character is kind of, sometimes she's kind of annoying, but the overall story is interesting, so I enjoyed it. You're from Cookstown? But yes, Elizabeth Lim, that's the one. I reached up a hand, stroked the long muzzle of a placid grey beast, and the lad who had whistled before appeared at my side. He was a gangling, freckled fellow somewhat older than myself. I had seen him many times with the others, and never exchanged so much as a word. Behind him a couple more boys hovered. His name's Silver. This was offered with diffidence, as if the speaker were not quite sure of his possible reception. There was a pause. Some response from me was clearly expected. It was all very well to maintain the glamour, to keep myself in this not quite myself, that they all seemed to want to look and talk to. My techniques were well up to that. But I must also act in keeping, find the words, the smiles, the little gestures, find the courage. I slipped a hand into the pocket of my gown, repeating the words of an old spell silently in my head, and drew out a wrinkled apple that had not been there when I left home. "Is it all right if I give him this?" I asked sweetly, arching my brows and trying for a shy smile. The boy nodded, grinning. Now I had 5 of them around me, leaning with studied casualness on the wall, or half hiding behind one another, peering around for a better look without being conspicuous. I put the apple on the palm of my hand, and the horse ate it. His ears were laid back. He was uneasy with me, and I knew why. "Is it true that you can make fire?" Oh, this is somebody else. "Is it true that you can make fire with your hands?" blurted out one of the lads suddenly. "Hush your mouth, Patty," said the first one with a scowl. "You only found 2, Esther?" "Yeah, I'll have to look at it." "What are you asking?" "She's a young lady." "None of our business, I'm sure," said another, though doubtless he, like all of them, had exchanged his fair share of speculative gossip about what we got up to, those long, lonely times in the honeycomb. "It's my father who's a sorcerer, not me," I said softly, still stroking the horse's muzzle with delicate fingers. "I'm just a girl." "Haven't seen you out and about much this summer," commented the freckled boy. "Keeps you busy, does he?" I gave a nod, allowing my expression to become crestfallen. "There's only my father and me, you see." I imagined myself as a dutiful daughter, cooking, sustaining meals, mending and sweeping and tending to my father, and I could see the same image in their eyes. "Shame that," said one of the lads. "Should come down sometimes. There's dancing and games and good times here in the camp. Pity to miss it." "Maybe," began the other boy, but I never heard what he was about to say, for it was at that point my father called me, and the lads melted away quicker than spring snow, leaving me alone with the horse. And as I turned to follow my father obediently back home, I saw Derek. Over on the far side of the horse lines, brushing down his white pony. Afy, her name was. He'd argued long and hard with Dan to be allowed to keep her, and he'd had his way in the end. Now Derek glanced at me and looked away, and not by so much as a twitch of the brow or a movement of the hand did he give me any recognition. "Very good," my father said as we walked home in the chill of a rising west wind. "Very good indeed. You're getting the feeling of this. However, this is just the beginning. I'd like you to develop a degree of sophistication." I'm losing it. Degree of sophistication. I can talk. "You sent me a link of the box set? Okay, thank you." Yeah, I guess maybe it was, I got it used on Thrift Books, I think, and they only had those 2, so maybe it just hasn't been put in their system yet. "You're drifting? Alright, good night, Milu. Thanks for coming in. Get lots of rest." "I'd like you to develop a degree of sophistication. You'll need that at Seven Waters. The folk there are somewhat different from these fishermen and simple travelers. We must begin work on that." "Yes, father." For all his words of praise, he seemed tired and sad, as if something weighed on him. I saw a look in his eyes that I recognized well, a look that told me he was planning, calculating, seeing things so far ahead I could not hope to understand. What was it he wanted me to do at Seven Waters? No Castle? He was on earlier. I usually read on Sunday nights, so you missed him. He tries to come on around 4:30 on Sundays, but we needed to go out and get the snake food, so he got on, I think, at about 5:30. But yeah, he'll come on for a little while just to chat with everybody, and today he was talking about the tribes of Ireland, and then I read. He'll be back again on Tuesday. Oh, you're at work? Yeah, it happens. We do have the VODs, though. You can see them on Twitch or on YouTube. Oh no, it was just a screenshot. We bugged him enough for it. Yes, you did. He was not keen on it, but since we did cut down on stream days, he agreed to it. All right. Nope, not there. Where did I leave off? Ah, yes, he's planning. What was it he wanted me to do at Seven Waters? Was it so dangerous there I must cloak myself in magic every waking moment? I wished he would explain. But that was never his way. If there was a puzzle to be solved, I was expected to do it myself. We might start sooner than planned, I think. As soon as Dan's folk are away, we'll take the next step. You can have 1 day's rest. You've earned that much. We cannot afford more. Use the day wisely. There was no choice in it. There never had been. Yes, Father, I said. And as we made our way up the cliff path and into the dark tunnels of the honeycomb, I let the glamour slip away, and was once more my limping, clumsy self. I had done what Father asked. Why then did I feel so unhappy? Hadn't I proved I could be what I pleased? Hadn't I shown I could make people admire me and bend them to my will? Yet later, lying on my bed, I stared into the darkness and felt an emptiness inside me that bore no relation whatever to spells and enchantments and the mastery of craft. Thank you, PR Punk, for the heart. Appreciate it. It was a night of restless dreams, and I awoke before dawn, shivering under my woolen blanket, hearing the howl of the wind, and the roar of the sea as it pounded the rocks of the honeycomb. Not a good day to be abroad. Perhaps Dan Walker and his folk would decide to stay a little longer. But it never did happen that way. They were as true to their name as birds flying away for the winter, their arrivals and departures as precise as the movement of shadows in a sacred circle. You could count your year by them, the golden times, the gray times. It seemed to me the voice of the wind had words in it. I will sweep you bare, bare, I will take it all. And the sea responded in kind. I am hungry, give me. I put my hands over my ears and curled up tight. It was supposed to be a day of rest, after all. Might I not sleep in peace, at least until the sun rose? But the voices would not go away. So I got up and dressed, not sure what the day might hold, but thinking I would make myself very busy indeed, and try to ignore the sick, empty feeling in my stomach. It was as I pulled on my boots that I heard, very faintly through the blast of the wind, another sound. A note or two, fragments of a tune over a steady, solid drone. The voice of the pipes. So, they were not gone yet. Not stopping to think, I grabbed my shawl and was away, out of doors and up the hill toward the standing stones, my hair whipped this way and that in the wild weather. The sea spray pursuing me as far from the cliffs as its icy fingers could stretch. Derek stopped playing when he saw me. He'd found a sheltered spot among the stones and sat with his legs outstretched and his back to the great dolmen we called the Guardian. Not disrespectful exactly, just blending in as if he belonged there, the same as the rabbits. I stumbled forward, pushing my hair back from my eyes, and sat down beside him. I clutched my shawl closer to me. It was still barely dawn, and the air held the first touch of a distant winter. It took me a while to catch my breath. "Well," said Derek eventually, which wasn't much help. "Well," I echoed. "You're abroad early. I heard you playing. I've played up here often enough this summer. Didn't bring you out before. We're leaving this morning, but I suppose you knew that." I nodded, sudden misery near overwhelming me. "I'm sorry," I mumbled. "I've been busy. Too busy to come out." "Don't apologize. Not if you don't mean it," said Derek lightly. "But I did want. I hadn't any choice," I told him. Derek looked at me straight, his brown eyes very serious and a little frown on his face. "There's always a choice, Fanya," he said soberly. Then we sat in silence for a while, and at length he took up the pipes and began to play again. Some tune I did not recognize that was sad enough to bring the tears to your eyes. Not that I'd have cried over such a foolish thing, even if I'd been capable of it. "There's words to that tune," Derek ventured. "I could teach you. It sounds bonny with the pipes and the singing." "Me? Sing?" I was jolted out of my misery. "I don't think so." "Never tried, have you?" said Derek. "Odd that. I've never yet met a soul without some music in them. I bet you could sing fit to call the seals up out of the ocean if you gave it a try." His tone was coaxing. "Not me," I said flatly. "I've better things to do. More important things." "Like what?" "Things. You know I can't talk about it." "Vanya." "What?" "I don't like to see you doing that. Doing what you were doing yesterday. I don't like it." "Doing what?" I lifted my brows as haughtily as I could manage and stared straight at him. He looked steadily back. "Carrying on with the lads, flirting, behaving like some silly girl. It's not right." "I can't imagine what you mean," I retorted scornfully, though I was struck to the heart by his criticism. "Anyway, you weren't even looking at me." Derek gave his crooked grin, but there was no mirth in it. "I was looking all right. You made sure everyone would be looking." I was silent. "My father was right, you know," he said after a while. "You should get wed, have a brood of children, settle down. You need looking after." "Nonsense," I scoffed. "I can look after myself." "You need keeping an eye on," persisted Derek. "Maybe you can't see it, maybe your father can't see it, but you're a danger to yourself." "Rubbish," I said, bitterly offended that he should think me so inadequate. "Besides, who would I wed here in the bay? A fisherman? A tinker's lad? Hardly." "You're right, of course," Derek said after a moment. "Quite unsuitable It'd be, I see that." Then he got to his feet, lifting the pipes neatly onto his shoulder. He had grown a lot this last year, and had begun to show a dark shadow of beard around the chin. He had acquired a small gold ring in one ear, just like his father's. "I'd best be off, then." He looked at me unsmiling. "Slip you in my pocket and take you with me, I would, if you were a bit smaller. Keep you out of harm's way." "I'd be too busy anyway," I said, as the desolation of parting swept over me once more. I never got any easier year after year, and knowing I would myself be leaving next autumn made this time even worse. "I have work to do. Difficult work, Derek." He didn't really seem to be listening to me, just looking. Then he reached over to tweak my hair, not too hard, and he said what he always said. "Bye, Curly. We'll see you next summer. Keep out of trouble now until I come back." I nodded, incapable of speech. Somehow, even though I had learned so much this season, even though I had come close to mastery of my craft, it seemed all of a sudden that the summer had been utterly wasted, that I had squandered something precious and irreplaceable. I watched my friend as he made his way through the circle of stones, the wind tugging and tearing at his old clothes and whipping his dark hair out beneath him. Then he went down to the other side of the hill and was gone. And it was cold, so cold I felt it in the very marrow, a chill that no warm fire nor sheepskin coat could keep at bay. I went home, and still the sun was barely creeping up the eastern sky, dark red behind storm-tossed clouds. As I walked back to the honeycomb and lit a lantern to see me in through the shadowy passages, I made my breathing into a pattern. One breath in, long and deep from the belly, out in steps like the cascades of a great waterfall. Control. That was what it was all about. You had to keep control. Lose that, and the exercise of the craft was pointless. I was a sorcerer's daughter. A sorcerer's daughter did not have friends or feelings. She could not afford them. Look at my father. He had tried to live a different sort of life, and all it had brought him was heartache and bitterness. Far wiser to concentrate on the craft and put the rest aside. Back in my room, I made myself picture the traveling folk loading their carts, harnessing their horses, setting off up the track northward with their dogs running alongside, and the lads bringing up the rear. I made myself think of Derek on his white pony, and forced myself to hear his words again. I don't like seeing you do that. You made sure everyone would be looking. You're a danger to yourself. If that was how he saw me, it was surely far better than our paths were separating now. Ours was a childhood friendship, untenable once we were grown. For we were of different kinds, he and I, kinds that cannot be joined for long. Other girls might sit on the cart and flash their smiles and think of a life like Peg's and Molly's, full of laughter and music and family. Other girls might look at Derek and think of a future. I was not like other girls, yet I felt the loss of him like a deep wound, as if a part of me had been torn away. Year after year, season after season, I had waited for him, pinning my hope and happiness on his return. It had seemed to me sometimes that I was not fully alive unless he was there. Now my grandmother was coming, and I was being sent away. Everything was changing. Best if I put Derek from my thoughts and just get on with things. Best if I learned to do without him. Besides, what could a traveling boy understand about sorcery and shape-changing and the arts of the mind? It was a different world, a world beyond his wildest imaginings. It was a world in which, finally, one must be strong enough to move forward quite alone. That is the end of chapter 1. It's very long. Goodness. We're on page 46. And I've gotten through one chapter. Crazy. Yep. Little eating dragon. Yeah, it's long, right? There. There is no table of contents. That's weird. Interesting. Wow. Last chapter is very long. Okay. 16 chapters. Yeah, and that was from where we left off last time. You are welcome, Lorraine. Thank you for being here and listening and enjoying the story with me. The chapter was long, and I don't know if you missed a lot, but you missed a little bit. But you could always go back and listen if you want to hear it. Or you can read the book. But yeah. You are welcome, Kemian. It is a good series. I like it a lot. You did make Brigade very chaotic. You are welcome, Frost. Thank you again. I don't know if you guys wanted to do songs since it's only 8:45, so we can do a couple songs if you guys want. It's up to you. Yeah, I think it's okay enough. You can manage. I'm gonna turn this music off though. It will allow me to. Okay. I think it stopped. Yeah. All right, Frost, that's totally fine. Thank you for coming in. Sleep well. Get some rest. There will come a soldier. Oh, soldier, poet, king. Yeah, we can do that. It's very short. But yeah, all right, that's what you want. We can do it. Okay. Are you ready? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is the ones you usually recommend or request. I'm Canadian First Nation from Alberta, and I've always wanted to meet others from around the world. Well, that's awesome. Welcome in. Maddie is also Canadian, and Mila's Canadian too, right? Gone to America? Yeah, I could try that. I haven't listened to it for a while, so I might not get the tune right, but I can definitely give it a go. You vote for Into the West? Alright, well, I'll sing until my voice can't do it anymore. British Columbia? Right. I hope to get to hear more. Well, I hope so too. For now, we are going to close up, sing some tavern songs. You can sing along. I actually prefer that you do, but you don't have to. Alright, we're going to do Soldier, Poet, King first. This one's pretty short. There will come a soldier who carries a mighty sword. He will tear your city down, ole, ole, o Lord. Ole, 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 o Lord. He will tear your cities down, ole, ole, o Lord. There will come a poet whose weapon is his word. He will slay you with his tongue, ole, ole, o Lord. Ole, 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 o Lord. He will slay you with his tongue, ole, ole, o Lord. There will come a ruler whose brow is laden thorn, smeared with oil like David's boy, ole, ole, o Lord. Ole, 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 o Lord. Smeared with oil like David's boy, ole, ole. That's it. It's short. I don't do it like the song because there's quite a bit of instrumental in there. I won't hurt it, it's fine. That one's short. Savage Daughter is a little harder to do if my voice isn't clear, but you know, we'll try it. Usually okay. There's a couple parts. You did property damage with your singing. I doubt that, Maddie. I doubt it. Alright. Savage Daughter. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter, I will not cut my hair, I will not lower my voice. My mother's child is a savage. She looks for her romance in the colors of stones, in the faces of cats, and the fall of feathers, in the dancing of fire, in the curve of old bones. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower my voice. My mother's child dances in darkness. She sings heathen songs by the light of the moon, and watches the stars, and renames the planets, and dreams she can reach them with a song and a broom. I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not cut my hair. I will not lower my voice. We are all brought forth out of darkness into this world through blood and through pain, and deep in our bones the old songs are waking, so sing them with voices of thunder and rain. We are our mother's savage daughters, the ones who run barefoot, cursing sharp stones. We are our mother's savage daughters. We will not cut our hair. We will not lower our voice. Have you actually heard me sing it? I don't think I have heard you singing, Maddie, to be fair. I might have and forgotten. Well, thank you, Christella. Yeah, we can do Into the West and Gone to America. You'll have to sing eventually, Maddie. Yeah. You're such a goober. All right. Into the West. You'll catch it eventually, probably. Lay down your sweet and weary head. Night is falling. You have come to journey's end. Sleep now and dream of the ones who came before. They are calling from across the distant shore. Why do you weep? What are these tears upon your face? Soon you will see. All of your fears will pass away, safe in my arms. You're only sleeping. What can you see on the horizon? Why do the white gulls call across the sea? The pale moon rises. The ships have come to carry you home. And all will turn to silver glass, a light on the water, all souls pass. Hope fades into the world of night, through shadows falling out of memory and time. Don't say we have come now to the end. White shores are calling. You and I will meet again, and you'll be here in my arms, just sleeping. What can you see on the horizon? Why do the white gulls call across the sea? A pale moon rises. The ships have come to carry you home. And all will turn to silver glass, a light on the water, gray ships pass into the west. Okay, made it. Just so you know, I don't know if I've told you this, but it's actually embarrassing to sing in front of you guys. But I do it because you ask me to. Because we love you. I can't play that grab my wife from the bar mission anymore without laughing my butt off now. Okay. Which one is that from? Oh, is that what that mission was called? That's funny. That is funny. Alright, so on to America. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like it. It's just really just for your benefit. Whew. Alright, this one is a little sad. Actually, it's a lot sad. If we're being honest. It's a lot sad, but it's a good song. Bear was the one that actually recommended it, so this is for Bear. I learned it on his behalf. Married him in April, lost him in July. Listen to my story and I'll tell you why. They said that he'd been poaching and stealing wine. They said I wouldn't see him for a long, long time. They said he's gone to America to work the land that some called Virginia. They said he's gone to America. Married him in April, lost him in July. They took him as their prisoner, then told me why. They said they had sent him where poachers go. I asked if I could see him, but they said no. They said he's gone to America to work the land that some called Virginia. They said he's gone to America. Married him in April, lost him in July. Curse the men who took him, curse their wicked lie. The night they saw him poaching and stealing wine was the night he took comfort in these arms of mine. They said he's gone to America to work the land that some call Virginia. They said he's gone to America. Married him in April, lost him in July. Blah. I messed it up a little bit. I found the weird lyrics again. I forgot about that. So I got the tone a little bit wrong in a couple lines, but it is a good song. If you have not heard it, you should go check it out by the Steel Ice Band group. And thank you, Vixen Doe. Welcome in. Well, I am very glad, Teresa. We are happy to have you as well. And hello, FedEx. Welcome in. We're ending up, actually, we just finished singing songs after reading Child of the Prophecy by Juliet Marie. But we will be back again. Castle will be reading to you all on Tuesday and Thursday. He's making his way through A Darkness at Sethanon by Raymond E. Feist and the last book of the Harry Potter series. Well, thank you, Maddie, and thank you, Kemian. And then I will be back next Sunday to read Chapter 2. You are very welcome, Bear. Thank you for sharing that lovely song with us. I guess I know where I'll be spending my Sundays now. Oh, I'm glad. I will be happy to see you next Sunday. I usually get on at 6:30, and before me, usually somewhere, it might be 4:30, it might be 5:30, it kind of just depends on what we have going on, but Castle will come on just for some chatting and to talk about folklore and such. Today it was the tribes of Ireland. And I don't know what will be next Sunday. I'm sure he hasn't decided yet. Songs done today have been recorded in your tavern diary. Well, I'm glad. Yes, wonderful rants. We love the waffling and the ranting. Yeah. You can, Is Wednesday when you were planning to get Borderlands 4? Yeah, I definitely don't have a problem playing with you. I don't even know what 4 is about. I kind of didn't pay attention to it at all because of how I felt about 3. But if you plan on playing it, I will play with you. We can just pick a Saturday or maybe even, I don't know, I guess we could do a weekday also. We'll just play through it for several hours. I get paid on 24. Okay, yeah, no, whatever, it's fine. We can do that. I don't know if you want to get a couple other people to play with us, but we can do a game stream. Did you invite Vixen in, Kristalla? And I'm glad it's your favorite tavern. We're happy to have you. Thank you so much for joining us here. We enjoy our time with you, and we hope that you keep coming in to spend time with us. That's why we do it. And in the meantime, we need to get some videos done because we've had too many technical difficulties that has caused Castle to try to redo it several times. So we haven't gotten a video out in a while, and that's not good. So we will be working on that this week. You keep a record of all the songs done in the tavern now? That's cool. I've noted this on my calendar. Awesome. If you would like, we do have a server on Guilded. It's similar to Discord, but it's a different app. and there's a lot more functionality to it. We have a lot going on over there. And we have the calendar if you ever want to see what's going on, and we have sections where you can post any of your crafts or art or your animals, and we even have an area for posting writings if any of you are writers or creatives and you just want to share your work or get some feedback. We do have a section for that as well. Did Castle make an announcement earlier for some writing stuff that's coming up? Did he talk about the writing competitions? If he didn't, then I'm not going to spoil it. We'll let him announce that. Erin has been begging me to do a joint gaming stream. Oh, okay, well maybe she'll play with us too then. I have dropped in a time or two. I catch Castle shorts. Okay, awesome. Very glad. You didn't hear him do it. Okay, well I don't want to spoil it, so I won't talk about it yet then. He might be waiting for the beginning of October to announce it, but I'll talk to him about it. All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming to the tavern to hear a tale, and we hope that we get to share many more with you. We'll see you again on Tuesday. Have a good night, everyone, and sleep well. Have a good day tomorrow. Be safe and well. Good night. Good night. Yeah, absolutely, Vixen. Absolutely, do that. We'd love to see them. We have a couple poets in there. I read it too. I read your story. We do have a section where you actually upload the document so it stays in there as like a file and it's kind of easier for people to find. If you post it in the chat, much like when you're in the lives, like that stuff can get lost because it moves. But if you go to the channel that says writings for feedback, you can actually upload the text as like a file and it'll be easier for people to find. If you want to. You don't have to, Esther, but it is easier that way. And I did read it and I liked it. It was very interesting. It's a good grabbing scene to get people interested in the rest of the book. Maddie uses the writer's chat a lot. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. But that's okay. That's what it's there for. So, again, you can post it there, and maybe Castle will make the announcement next week or this week. We'll see. But we'll also post it in the Gilded, okay? So everyone will have the information, but we have a really exciting plan for the writing competitions, and I hope that you guys will participate. I look forward to it, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. So good night, good night, good night. Oh, awesome, Esther. That's great. That's really good. Yeah, when you have it available, I will definitely give it a read. Still getting through Maddie's stuff. So long. But keep at it, you guys. Keep at it. You're doing a good job.